Chapter 1143. Unfortunately, it wouldn't be easy for them to find Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen wouldn't reveal his heavenly dragon combat halberd so easily. The moment he revealed it would be the moment of his battle with Tian Muyun. Pa! At this time, a palm suddenly patted Jiang Chen's back. Jiang Chen turned his head and saw a man smiling at him. The man was none other than Fu Hui. "Jiang brother, I thought you weren't coming. Never thought that you would come earlier than me. Your cultivation base has advanced again. Such talent is just too scary." Fu Hui clicked his tongue in disbelief. When he first saw Jiang Chen was merely an early Earth immortal. It had only been 10 days, but Jiang Chen had already advanced to the intermediate Earth immortal realm. Fu Hui couldn't help but be astonished by such a terrifying advancement speed. "It's just luck." Jiang Chen shrugged. "Jiang brother, I heard that someone has stolen the regenerative lotus. That person is truly audacious." Fu Hui had obviously learned about everything. The thought of someone stealing the regenerative lotus and stealing it before the grand ceremony was inconceivable to him. "That's right. That person is really audacious. Brother Fu, can you guess who did it?" Jiang Chen asked with a smile. "How can I guess? Anyway, it has nothing to do with us. This is a matter between experts. Let's not talk too much about it. But without the regenerative lotus, I wonder what the grand ceremony will be like tomorrow." Fu Hui sounded a little disappointed. He initially thought that the 8 immortals would have their own abilities and the competition would be intense. But now that the regenerative lotus was gone, he reckoned that the 8 immortals wouldn't be able to compete with each other. "That's right. That's why I'm not interested in the grand ceremony anymore. I'm going back now," Jiang Chen said. In his point of view, the 8 immortals had lost interest in the grand ceremony after losing the regenerative lotus, especially Tian Muyun. A man like him would surely not use his full strength in the grand ceremony tomorrow. So there was no point in watching it. "Don't. It's not easy for me to come here. It's only once every 2 years. It'd be a pity if I don't take a look." Fu Hui then noticed a Da next to Jiang Chen, as well as a air next to Han Yan and a Huang dog. The two of them looked exactly the same, clearly twins. Moreover, the faint demon qi emanating from them indicated that they were demonic beasts. "Brother Jiang, who are they?" Fu Hui asked curiously. He had no idea how Jiang Chen had managed to mingle with the 2 Yao beasts. Although the 2 Yao beasts did not reveal their auras, they did not seem to be pushovers. Their cultivation bases were most likely above his. "They are the friends I made in the barren mountain range. They followed me out of the barren mountain range. However, they are only here to watch the grand ceremony. They will return tomorrow," said Jiang Chen. Ada and air were his secret weapons. They couldn't be exposed. He wanted them to hide in the Zulong Tower. Amazing. Upon hearing this, Fu Hui couldn't help but give Jiang Chen a thumbs up. Normally, powerful demonic beasts were very ferocious, especially the great demons in the desolate mountain range. Ordinary cultivators would stay away from these great demons when they entered the mountain range, but Jiang Chen was able to befriend them. He really had no idea how he did it. "Brother Fu, I'm no longer interested in this grand ceremony. We will return first and wait for you in Cloud Mist City. I still hope that you can introduce me to Tianyun Pavilion after you return," said Jiang Chen. He had already guessed the ending of the grand ceremony. It was no longer attractive to Jiang Chen. Of course, the most important thing for Jiang Chen now was to return and recover from his injuries. His injuries were not a big deal, but the Zulong Tower needed to be restored. Furthermore, he had already obtained the regenerative lotus, so he had to make use of it as soon as possible. This treasure was like a ticking time bomb if he kept it in his hands. It was safest to refine it in Cloud Mist City. "Brother Jiang, are you really leaving?" asked Fu Hui. "That's right. I've already seen the one-line 8 immortals and I'm very satisfied. We brothers have obtained some benefits in the barren mountain range and need some time to digest them. Brother Fu, we will take our leave now." Jiang Chen cupped his fists at Fu Hui before disappearing into the crowd and flying towards Cloud Mist City with Han Yan and a Huang dog. Taking advantage of the fact that everyone's attention was on the one-line 8 immortals, it was the wisest time for them to leave. If they waited until the grand ceremony ended tomorrow, they might encounter the people from Shenyang School. At that time, it would be inevitable for them to have a conflict with the people from Shenyang School. After leaving, Jiang Chen got Ada and Air to hide in the Zulong Tower. The three brothers were running on the ground at high speed. Their behavior could be said to be very low-key. After all, they had just obtained the regenerative lotus. Although a part of the Zulong Tower was broken, the space inside was very large. It wouldn't be a problem for them to hide Ada and Erge. Little Chenzi, why are you leaving so soon? We haven't seen the grand ceremony tomorrow. Asked Han Yen. There's nothing to see. I've already guessed the outcome. It's going to be a draw. Do you think the one-line 8 immortals will still have the passion to fight without the regenerative lotus? What we need to do now is to go back and digest the regenerative lotus. We have to finish everything before we enter Tianyun Pavilion. Are we going to Tianyun Pavilion to refine the regenerative lotus? Said Jiang Chen. Only a fool would go to Tianyun Pavilion to refine the regenerative lotus. There were countless experts in Tianyun Pavilion, especially Tian Muyun. Once he sensed the aura of the regenerative lotus, it would bring disaster to them. 2 men and a dog were extremely fast. Sometimes, they would let De Huang dog unfold his wings to carry them. Unknowingly, it was already dawn. The distance between Cloud Mist City and Heavenly Mountain wasn't short. After daybreak, they chose to run on the ground. There were cultivators flying above their heads at high speed. Their destination was the sky. It could be seen that the grand ceremony that was held once every 2 years was very attractive. 4 streams of light flew past in the sky and quickly returned. The aura of the 4 were incomparably tyrannical. All of them were heaven immortals. They instantly locked onto Jiang Chen's group. We've been noticed. Just when De Huang dog was about to raise his head, the 4 experts had already landed in front of them. Senior brother Li, it's him. He's Jiang Chen, the guy who destroyed our mine and killed a dozen of our disciples. One of them pointed at Jiang Chen and spoke while gnashing his teeth. It seemed like he wanted to eat Jiang Chen alive. Jiang Chen also recognized this person. He was Luo Xiang, an inner disciple of Shenyang School. He was the one who fought with him that night. Jiang Chen didn't expect to meet him here. Chapter 1144. The 4 of them were wearing the same uniform of Shenyang School. Apart from Luo Xiang, the other 3 should be the inner sect disciples of Shenyang School. Besides Luo Xiang, there was an early heaven immortal expert and the other 2 were even scarier. Intermediate heaven immortal experts. Even if Jiang Chen transformed into his dragon form, he could only deal with these geniuses. It would be very difficult for him to kill them. Hee, long time no see, brother Luo. Jiang Chen chuckled. These 4 guys must have gone to Heavenly Mountain to watch the grand ceremony. Unexpectedly, Luo Xiang noticed him when they were flying over, which was why he landed. Shenyang School had already issued the order to kill him. Naturally, they wouldn't let go of any chance to kill Jiang Chen. Of course, Jiang Chen didn't put these 4 guys in his eyes at all. Putting aside the fact that he and De Huang dog weren't afraid of them, Ada and Er alone were enough to give them a hard time. Jiang Chen, you have offended Shenyang School. Why didn't you find a place to hide? How dare you show up here? You really don't know what's good for you. It's your bad luck to meet me today. It's time to settle the score between us. Luo Xiang said fiercely. Although the sect didn't blame him for what happened that day, he had already become a laughingstock in the inner sect. He had been holding a grudge in his heart for the past few days. He didn't expect that he would meet his enemy here today. If he didn't vent his anger, he would definitely die of suffocation. Unfortunately, you are no match for me. Jiang Chen said indifferently. You are Jiang Chen? That audacious guy. The leading intermediate heaven immortal disciple kept sizing up Jiang Chen, seemingly very interested in Jiang Chen. However, Jiang Chen's appearance disappointed him. In his opinion, even if Jiang Chen wasn't as sturdy as a bear, he should at least look fierce. Never had he thought that Jiang Chen was a greasy-faced scholar. I don't dare to be audacious, but I advise you not to provoke me. I will give you a chance to live. Get lost from my sight immediately and I won't kill you. Jiang Chen's eyes turned cold. He didn't want to waste any more time. If these 3 guys insisted on fighting each other to the death, he was sure that they would die miserably. Haha. Sure enough, you are very arrogant, but you need the capital to be arrogant. If you don't have the capital to be arrogant, you will have to pay a heavy price. Senior brother Li laughed loudly as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. He was an intermediate heaven immortal expert and an inner sect genius of Shenyang School. Any ordinary intermediate heaven immortal expert wouldn't be a match for him. With such a huge advantage and such an obvious gap in cultivation base, he naturally wouldn't put an earth immortal like Jiang Chen in his eyes. Senior brother Li, don't talk nonsense with him. Just kill him and bring his head back. The sect will definitely reward us. Luo Xiang said. Jiang Chen, did you hear that? If we kill you, we'll be rewarded handsomely. If you kneel down and kowtow to me right now, I might be merciful and leave your corpse in one piece. Senior brother Li said with a sneer. Is that so? Since you all want to die, I will fulfill your wish. I have already given you all a chance to leave. Jiang Chen, never like to give people second chances. Jiang Chen's tone was filled with killing intent, an incomparably cold killing intent. Courting death. Let's see how you are going to escape today. Luo Xiang said and was the first to rush towards Jiang Chen. He knew Jiang Chen's capability, so he exerted his full strength. A dazzling long sword appeared in his hand. In a blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Jiang Chen. Now that there were late heaven immortal senior brothers behind him, he didn't have the slightest fear towards Jiang Chen. Seeing Luo Xiang dashing towards him, Jiang Chen shook his head. Then he suddenly punched out with his fist. The terrifying fist hit Luo Xiang's long sword. Clang! An enormous force pressed down like a mountain. Under the impact of this force, the long sword in Luo Xiang's hand buzzed and almost flew out of his hand. What? Luo Xiang's facial expression changed dramatically. Only now did he realize that Jiang Chen was much stronger than before. Plus, Jiang Chen hadn't used that powerful transformation technique yet. In other words, he was no longer a match for Jiang Chen. What a powerful earth immortal. The other three's facial expression changed as well. Even the two mid-heaven immortal geniuses instantly stopped underestimating Jiang Chen. This was their first time meeting such a terrifying figure. Ada, come out and finish them off. Jiang Chen spoke lung. A black shadow suddenly appeared in front of the four of them. Instantly, the four of them were shrouded by an enormous amount of demonic qi and devil qi. Cold qi flowed into their bodies, making them feel like they were on the verge of death. What a powerful qi! This is a late heaven immortal great demon. We are no match for it. Damn it! How could this bastard hide such a terrifying monster beside him? Run quickly! The four disciples of Xueqi school were scared out of their wits. They no longer had the arrogance they had before. They hastily turned and ran, preparing to fly into the sky. Although they were eager to kill Jiang Chen and claim the reward, their lives were more important than anything else. If they lost their lives, they wouldn't be able to claim the reward. They could ignore Jiang Chen, but this big guy in front of them wasn't something they could fight. Let alone a mid-heaven immortal. Even a late heaven immortal inner sect disciple wouldn't be a match for this heavenly devil barbaric bull. Dang! Ada spat out a word. Boundless killing chi surged out of his body. He waved his hand and a huge hoof appeared. The black hoof was 100 meters long. It pressed down like a dark cloud, shrouding the four of them. Hung long. Arg! A loud bang was heard, followed by miserable shrieks. The four inner sect disciples of Xueqi school were trampled to death by Ada. They were flattened into meat paste. Not even a complete corpse was left. Damn it! That's brutal. Big Yellow curled his lips. He did not think that he was more ferocious than Ada when he wanted to be. Let's go. Hurry up. The commotion here might attract the attention of other cultivators. If the experts of Xueqi school are drawn here, it'll be troublesome. Jiang Chen immediately let Ada enter the Zulong Tower and disappeared. Today was the grand ceremony of Tian Shan Mountain. There were many cultivators coming and going, including the experts of Xueqi school. It would be troublesome if they were exposed. Chapter 1145. The death of the four inner disciples of Xueqi school would soon attract the attention of Xueqi school. Generally, disciples of major powers would leave behind things like soul jade slips. As long as they died, the soul jade slips would immediately shatter. People would easily point their eyes at Jiang Chen because there weren't many people who dared to kill inner disciples of Xueqi school in one-line sky. Jiang Chen was in the eye of the storm, so it was natural for people to target him. However, Jiang Chen didn't care about this. Jiang Chen's philosophy was very simple. As long as they were enemies, they would fight to the death. Moreover, They had to kill the people of Shenyang School, and the people of Shenyang School wanted to kill him. Since that was the case, there was no need for him to be polite. Jiang Chen's current thoughts were on the regenerative lotus. If the three of them could refine the entire regenerative lotus, their cultivation would improve tremendously, especially Han Yen. Naturally, it wouldn't be a problem for him to regrow his arm. His cultivation would also improve tremendously. As for how far he could go, it would depend on his own ability. In the City Lord's mansion of Cloud Mist City, Jiang Chen and the rest returned quietly without alerting anyone. As they knew that Jiang Chen was a friend of young Master Fu Hui, no one stopped them from entering the City Lord's mansion. It was said that the Mansion Lord of the City Lord's mansion had also gone to the Heavenly Mountain to watch the grand ceremony. Therefore, the entire City Lord's mansion was rather quiet. This kind of silence was exactly what Jiang Chen needed. The quieter the place was, the better it would be for him to refine the regenerative lotus. In the courtyard, Jiang Chen observed the surroundings and said to De Huang Dog, "De Huang, arrange an invisibility formation around the courtyard. It doesn't need to be too strong, but it has to ensure that no aura will leak out." "All right." De Huang Dog nodded. He understood Jiang Chen's method very well. The regenerative lotus was of great importance. If even a trace of aura was leaked out, it might bring them a disaster, even if they were in Cloud Mist City. De Huang Dog was very familiar with arranging formations. As someone who was proficient in the Heavenly Book of Source Formations, he could arrange countless ancient formations. There were some rare formations that even mighty immortal kings wouldn't know about. This was De Huang Dog's advantage. It took De Huang Dog more than 10 minutes to arrange the formation. The entire courtyard was enveloped by the formation. From the outside, there was nothing special about the courtyard. Even if a mighty immortal flew over it, he wouldn't be able to sense the slightest aura inside. Jiang Chen was an expert in formations. When he saw Big Yellow's formation, he couldn't help but feel surprised. The Heavenly Book of Source Formations was no joke. Ada and Air, choose a place to hide. If anyone comes near, inform me immediately. Jiang Chen summoned Ada and Air. These two barbaric bulls were true experts and would play a great role in critical moments. Yes, Master. Both of them didn't dare to neglect Jiang Chen's words. These are 2 leaves of the regenerative lotus. Each of you can take one. You can help us guard the place while refining the leaves. These leaves will be enough to push your cultivation base to the peak of half-step divine immortal realm. It will also stimulate the potential of your bloodline, allowing you to break through to the true divine immortal realm at any time. Jiang Chen took out 2 leaves and handed them to the 2 barbaric bulls. What? Upon seeing this, both of them exclaimed at the same time. Their eyes stared at the leaves of the regenerative lotus in front of them. They were too shocked. They had never thought that Jiang Chen would be so generous. He was even willing to give them such rare treasures. They knew their status very well. After being edified by Jiang Chen, they had become his slaves. Now, it seemed like being a slave was really worth it. Such benefits made them tremble. "Why aren't you taking them?" Jiang Chen yelled coldly. Apart from the core, there were a total of 18 leaves. Each of them was a rare treasure. If it was placed outside, countless cultivators would fight for it. It was indeed a waste to give such a treasure to 2 barbaric bulls, but Jiang Chen didn't feel that it was a waste at all. He knew very well what he was doing. After all, his cultivation base was still low and his foundation in the immortal world wasn't stable. These 2 heavenly devil barbaric bulls were his trump cards. The stronger they were, the more help they would be to him. In other words, improving the strength of Ada and Air was equivalent to improving his cultivation base indirectly. If Ada and Air advanced to the half-step divine immortal realm, it would be equivalent to having 2 early divine immortal experts by his side. Jiang Chen knew very well how beneficial this would be to him. "Thank you, Master. Thank you, Master." Ada and Air were incomparably excited. They knelt on the ground with a puff. This was a great grace. Tears almost flowed down their cheeks. Subsequently, Jiang Chen brought De Huang Dog and Han Yen into the room. The 2 barbaric bulls were still staring at the lotus leaf in their hands in excitement. "Lao Air, what do you think? Do you have a boundless future by following Master?" Ada asked. "That's right. We have only been following Master for less than 2 days and he has already given us such great benefits. I was really stupid to resist him." Air was also incomparably excited. "All right, We will follow Master loyally from now on. We will do whatever Master asks us to do. Our current task is to protect Master and the others. You and I will hide in 2 different places while refining the lotus leaf. I believe that we will be able to break through to the half-step divine immortal realm very soon. Ada said. In the room, Jiang Chen took out the regenerative lotus. All of a sudden, the whole room was filled with a strong aura of divine herb. Under the impact of this aura, the 2 men and the dog couldn't help but feel refreshed and indescribably comfortable. One had to admit that the medicinal energy of the regenerative lotus was too strong. If it wasn't for De Huang Dog's formation, the entire sky above Cloud Mist City would be filled with the medicinal energy of the lotus. That was simply courting death. This thing is really full of treasures. A single leaf is enough to improve a person's physique. Even a stupid pig will become a genius after eating a single leaf. The root and stem of the regenerative lotus are also treasures. The most precious one is, of course, the lotus heart. It has the ability to regenerate. Legend has it that the lotus heart can bring the dead back to life. De Huang Dog clicked his tongue. The fork in his mouth began to drool, which directly attracted the disdain of Jiang Chen and Han Yen. This lotus heart belongs to Ah Yen. Don't even think about it. Jiang Chen didn't give Big Yellow any chance. He took out the lotus heart from the bundle of leaves of the regenerative lotus and handed it to Han Yen. The lotus heart looked like a relic. Saliva was squirming inside it. It was a peerless divine herb that amazed everyone. Chapter 1146. De Huang Dog looked at the lotus heart and licked his lips. If it was in the past, he would have taken a bite out of the lotus heart, but he knew the importance of the lotus heart to Han Yen. Han Yan's severed arm had to be regrown as soon as possible. If it took too long, it would have a negative impact on Han Yan's future cultivation. Little Chenzi, thank you. Han Yen received the lotus heart and thanked Jiang Chen. He knew that it would make him seem like an outsider, but he really couldn't express his gratitude to Jiang Chen. There was nothing much to be said between the 2 brothers. Jiang Chen was even willing to give him a precious divine herb like the heart of the regenerative lotus. He could only remember Jiang Chen's kindness in his heart. Han Yen knew very well that the lotus heart of the regenerative lotus was an incomparably precious treasure to Jiang Chen. If Jiang Chen refined the lotus heart, the benefits would naturally be boundless, but Jiang Chen still gave it to Han Yen without hesitation. Plus, Han Yen also knew that the main reason Jiang Chen took the risk to steal the regenerative lotus was because of him. There's no need to talk about this between brothers. Hurry up and refine it. Given your current cultivation base, I'm afraid that it will take a long time for you to completely regenerate the lotus and regrow your arm. Jiang Chen patted on Han Yan's shoulder. He knew how Han Yen felt at the moment, so he didn't say anything else. If he said too much, it would only increase the pressure in Han Yan's heart. Han Yen smiled and didn't say anything else. He took the lotus heart and went to another room. As he turned around, Han Yan's eyes became slightly moist. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Having a brother like Jiang Chen is truly one of the greatest blessings in life. While Han Yen was refining the regenerative lotus, Jiang Chen and De Huang Dog also began to refine the other parts of the lotus. Jiang Chen didn't pursue too much at the moment. He was satisfied as long as he could advance to the late Earth immortal realm with the help of the lotus. The path of cultivation was a step-by-step process. The regenerative lotus was a peerless divine herb, a natural treasure. There wouldn't be the slightest psychological burden when refining it. Such a divine herb would only be beneficial to the cultivator. Even if the cultivator advanced a few levels in a row, he wouldn't have to worry about the instability of his foundation due to the rapid advancement. Before Jiang Chen and De Huang Dog could refine the rest of the regenerative lotus, they heard 2 powerful qi coming from outside the door. These 2 bulls have advanced so quickly. De Huang Dog shook his head. This speed of advancement was way too fast. Jiang Chen had just given them the leaves of the regenerative lotus and they had already advanced to the half-step divine immortal realm. That was why they were releasing powerful qi. Fortunately, De Huang Dog had deployed a formation around the courtyard to isolate everything. Otherwise, the qi released by Ada and Air would have attracted the attention of outsiders. It's very normal. Ada and Air have already reached the peak of Heaven Immortal Realm, just a step away from the half-step Earth Immortal Realm. Now that they have obtained the help of the regenerative lotus, it's only natural for them to break through the bottleneck instantly. But this also shows the scariness of the regenerative lotus. Jiang Chen smiled. He wasn't too surprised. After all, Ada and Air's cultivation base was still there. Plus, the effect of the regenerative lotus was incomparable to ordinary herbs. The success of Ada and Air's advancement was undoubtedly a good thing for Jiang Chen. His trump card had also become more powerful. Leaving Ada and Air aside, Jiang Chen and a Huang dog each took 5 leaves and began refining them. Hung Long. As soon as the leaves entered his body, Jiang Chen felt an extremely powerful energy rushing into his qi si. That energy was mixed with a medicinal energy, pure and violent. The energy was condensed into dragon marks by Jiang Chen using the dragon transformation skill. The medicinal energy then entered Jiang Chen's limbs, bones and internal organs, tempering his body from the inside out. It was a perfect tempering. What a powerful medicinal energy! It's indeed a peerless divine herb. This peerless lotus leaf is enough to push my cultivation base to the peak of late earth immortal realm. Additionally, my physique has been tempered to a greater extent. When I transform into my dragon form, my physique will be even stronger and my combat strength will be stronger than before. Jiang Chen was overjoyed. Sure enough, taking the risk to obtain the regenerative lotus was worth it. Such a peerless divine herb was something that every cultivator yearned for. On the other side, De Huang Dog's body was covered with a layer of golden light. Obviously, after receiving the help of the regenerative lotus, De Huang Dog's body began to change from inside to outside. In Han Yan's room, Han Yan was sitting cross-legged on a praying mat. The lotus heart was floating in front of his face. He looked at his severed arm. The lotus heart of the regenerative lotus had given him great hope and expectation. He was a little excited. However, Han Yan was also a man who had seen the world. He had an extremely tough mind and was used to life and death situations. He adjusted his condition quickly and began to refine the lotus heart. The way Han Yan refined the lotus heart was very simple. It could be described as barbaric. He opened his mouth and swallowed the lotus heart. Hong. The moment the enormous energy entered Han Yan's body, it spread out like a vast ocean. Every strand of energy turned into barbaric energy, rampaging inside Han Yan's body. Damn it! What a violent energy! Han Yan couldn't help but curse. He knew that he had overestimated himself. The energy in the lotus heart was countless times greater than what he had imagined. Now that the energy in his body had gone berserk, he felt like he was going to lose control of it. Fortunately, Han Yan had the bloodline of Gu Tianma. The strength of his bloodline wasn't something ordinary people could compare to. Very quickly, he managed to suppress the energy. Gu Tianma's bloodline was comparable to an ordinary divine physique. It could play a great role at the critical moment. For example, if an ordinary cultivator swallowed the lotus heart, they wouldn't be able to control the enormous energy. They would explode and die. Not only would they not benefit from it, they would also harm themselves. However, Han Yan's Gu Tianma's physique was different. It was incomparably tyrannical. Even if the energy was stronger, he would still be able to withstand it. In the following period of time, the 3 brothers entered seclusion and began to refine the regenerative lotus without paying attention to the outside world. This was a slow process and couldn't be rushed. According to Jiang Chen's estimation, it would take at least 3 days for the process to be completed. As expected, the one-line 8 immortals had lost their passion for the competition in the heavenly mountain due to the loss of the regenerative lotus. In the end, the competition ended in a draw. On the contrary, due to the loss of the regenerative lotus, the one-line 8 immortals weren't as good as the previous years. Many cultivators felt somewhat disappointed. Chapter 1147. After the grand ceremony was over, the 8 immortals returned to their respective sections. However, the atmosphere in One Line Sky was somewhat depressing. Everyone knew that the regenerative lotus had been stolen. It was something that the 8 immortals had taken a fancy to. It was a miracle that someone dared to snatch something that belonged to the 8 immortals. Everyone was very curious about the culprit, but it was destined to be a mystery that would be hard to solve. Almost on the same day, the 4 major forces sent out a message at the same time. All the cultivators in One Line Sky who found someone using the Heavenly Dragon Battle Halberd and reported it to the 4 major forces would receive the greatest reward. Everyone knew that One Line Sky wouldn't be peaceful for a period of time. First, there was the appearance of Jiang Chen, which caused the Shenyang school to issue a kill order. Now, There was another person who stole the regenerative lotus and left behind the heavenly dragon combat halberd. However, most of the cultivators knew very well that it wouldn't be easy to find the culprit, because as long as the culprit didn't use the heavenly dragon combat halberd, he wouldn't be discovered. No one would have thought that the person who caused these two huge disturbances in one-line sky was the same person. While the four major powers were searching for the person who stole the regenerative lotus, Jiang Chen and the others were still refining the lotus in Cloud Mist City. When Fu Hui returned from Heavenly Mountain, Jiang Chen and De Huang Dog had already come out of seclusion. They had already refined the 5 lotus leaves and their cultivation base had improved by leaps and bounds. The current number of dragon marks in Jiang Chen's body had reached more than 440,000. His cultivation base had already reached the peak of late Earth Immortal Realm. He was only a step away from the half-step Heaven Immortal Realm. He only needed 10,000 more dragon marks to complete his breakthrough. Moreover, the leaves of the regenerative lotus had brought great benefits to him. Not only had his foundation stabilized, but his physique had also been greatly tempered. After advancing to the peak of late Earth Immortal Realm, Jiang Chen's combat strength had become even more terrifying. He could now easily kill intermediate Heaven Immortal experts even without using his half-dragon form. De Huang Dog was equally vigorous. He had successfully broken through to the Heaven Immortal Realm from half-step Heaven Immortal Realm and advanced to the intermediate Heaven Immortal Realm. The bloodline of the Dragon Horse Divine Beast had become even more powerful. Even so, there was still a lot of medicinal energy left in Jiang Chen and De Huang Dog's body. This was also the reason why they didn't refine the remaining lotus leaves. It wasn't because they were reluctant, but because the medicinal energy was already sufficient. It would be a waste if they continued to refine the remaining lotus leaves. The regenerative lotus was a peerless divine medicine that could only be found by luck. There were a total of 18 lotus leaves. Jiang Chen and Jiang Chen had refined 10, while Ada and Air had each refined 1. Jiang Chen Dragon Lotus Chin Star Lotus Set. Jiang Lotus Lotus Leaves Dragon Lotus Jiang Star Lotus Leaves. Lotus Leaves Lotus Chen Mountain. Jiang Lotus Leaves Lotus. God Lotus God Lotus in Re the Lotus Sect Divine Lotus Imd Lotus Chen. Lotus. IMS Lotus King Sect. The big yellow dog licked its lips as if it wanted to continue. The most precious part of the regenerative lotus is its heart. I'm afraid that immortal kings won't be interested in a mere few lotus leaves, but the heart is different. It contains almost all the essence of the regenerative lotus. Anyone who obtains it will have a meteoric rise. Jiang Chen said. It seems like Yan's arm will grow back. De Huang Dog said with a smile. Currently, Han Yan was still in the process of refining the lotus. After all, the lotus heart couldn't be compared to the lotus leaves. It would take a long time for him to refine the lotus heart completely. Dong dong dong. At this time, someone knocked on the door. Jiang Chen swept it with his divine sense and found that Fu Hui was already standing outside the door. It seems like the grand ceremony has ended. Let's go out and have a look. Jiang Chen pushed the door open and walked out of the courtyard. As for Han Yan's qi, it was concealed by De Huang Dog's formation, so Fu Hui wouldn't be able to detect it. Ada and Air were also hiding in the courtyard. Given Fu Hui's cultivation base, he wouldn't be able to detect anything unusual either. The door of the courtyard was opened. Fu Hui strode in without any hesitation. Brother Jiang Chen, how's your seclusion? Where's Brother Han Yan? Fu Hui asked. As Jiang Chen had completely concealed his qi, Fu Hui couldn't see through Jiang Chen's real cultivation base. He still didn't know that Jiang Chen had already reached the peak of late Earth Immortal Realm. Yan is still in seclusion, trying to break through to a higher realm. Brother Fu, how was the grand ceremony? Jiang Chen hastily changed the topic, diverting Fu Hui's attention from Han Yan. It's not interesting at all. Just as Brother Jiang expected, after losing the regenerative lotus, the 8 immortals looked dispirited during the battle. Sect Master Tian didn't even use his trump card. It seems like we can cancel the grand ceremony in the future. It's no longer attractive if there's no winner or loser every year. Fu Hui shook his head in disappointment. I wonder who had the guts to steal the regenerative lotus. Jiang Chen sighed. De Huang Dog, who was watching from the side, had an impulse to go up and bite Jiang Chen. He had seen many pretentious people, but he had never seen such a pretentious person. Who knows? The four major powers have already announced that they are looking for the owner of the Heavenly Dragon Combat Halberd. I guess one-line sky won't be peaceful in the future, Fu Hui said. Hearing this, Jiang Chen smiled bitterly in his heart. It seems like I can't easily use the Heavenly Dragon Combat Halberd in the future. By the way, Brother Jiang, when are you going to head to Tianyun Pavilion with me? Asked Fu Hui. When Yan comes out of seclusion. I guess it'll only take 1 or 2 days. I hope I won't delay Brother Fu's matter, said Jiang Chen. Han Yan was still in seclusion, so it was impossible for him to leave without saying goodbye. Does Brother Jiang want to bring Han Yan and Han Yan to Tianyun Pavilion together? Tianyun Pavilion's disciple selection is rather strict. Furthermore, it's not the annual recruitment period. Even if I'm an inner disciple, it'll be troublesome if I introduce 2 people at the same time, said Fu Hui with a frown. He only had his eyes on Jiang Chen. If Jiang Chen wanted to bring Han Yan along, it would be troublesome. Brother Fu, you don't have to worry about this. Yan won't be entering Tianyun Pavilion with me. I'll go with you. Of course, I'll bring De Huang with me. Chapter 1148. This was something that Jiang Chen had to consider. Furthermore, after Han Yan refined the lotus heart, his cultivation would advance by leaps and bounds. At that time, he would have the ability to protect himself. Even if he didn't follow Jiang Chen, he would still be able to protect himself. Moreover, Jiang Chen was the one in the eye of the storm, not Han Yan. To put it bluntly, there weren't many people in one-line sky who knew about Han Yan and his broken arm. Alright, in that case, I'll wait for 2 more days. After Brother Han Yan comes out of seclusion, we'll set off for Tianyun Pavilion together. Fu Hui said with a smile. He didn't want to disturb Han Yan's seclusion and left. As the eldest young master of the City Lord Mansion, he was also busy with his own affairs. In the room, Han Yan was at the most critical stage. The regenerative lotus's lotus heart had played a great role. His broken arm was growing little by little. Han Yan was sweating all over his body. The regrowing of a broken arm was destined to be an incomparably difficult and painful process. His bones and flesh had to grow little by little. The pain was enough to tear one's soul apart. If it was an ordinary cultivator, they wouldn't be able to bear it. Only a person with great perseverance like Han Yan could endure it. At this time, Gu Tianma's physique had played its true role. The medicinal power of the regenerative lotus had played a great role. Han Yan was persisting. At this rate, 2 days would be enough. He believed that the moment his severed arm grew back, his cultivation base would advance by leaps and bounds, reaching an extremely terrifying level. He was afraid that even Jiang Chen wouldn't dare to estimate how terrifying it would be. After all, it was his first time seeing the heart of the regenerative lotus. Therefore, he couldn't estimate its true effect. 2 days later, in the middle of the night. Finally, there was movement in Han Yan's room. Jiang Chen and a Huang dog who had been waiting for 2 days were shocked. Yan has succeeded. Big Yellow's face was filled with excitement. Just as he was about to dash into Han Yan's house, Jiang Chen grabbed his tail and stopped him. Don't go there. Yan's arm has just regrown. He's going to break through to the next realm. You'll disturb him if you go there now. Jiang Chen said bluntly. The Huang dog stuck out its tongue and quietened down. The man and the dog stared at Han Yan's door without blinking. Inside the house, Han Yan opened his eyes. 2 beams of black demonic light shot out from his eyes, causing the void to tremble. Han Yan raised his newly grown arm, and a smile finally appeared on his face. There were some things that one would only know how precious they were once they were gone. No one could understand Han Yan's current feelings. If it wasn't for the fact that he had been through a lot and had a strong heart, he would have jumped up in excitement. Buzz buzz. The process of regrowing his arm didn't end there. To Han Yan, the help of the regenerative lotus's heart wasn't as simple as regrowing an arm. Because he had been focusing on his severed arm, the energy in his body had reached a terrifying level. What he needed to do now was to use Gu Tianma's bloodline to control this energy and break through to a higher realm. Ka! That was the sound of breaking through the bottleneck. In just 2 minutes, Han Yan had broken through the half-step Earth Immortal realm and advanced to the early Earth Immortal realm. But this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. Not even 1% of the energy in his body had been consumed, and the lotus's heart hadn't been fully refined yet. Hoo-hoo. The whole house was filled with horrifying energy, like a storm on the sea. If it wasn't for Big Yellow using a formation to cover this place, such a movement would have immediately attracted the attention of the Cloud Mist City's experts. 10 minutes later, Han Yen made another breakthrough and reached the intermediate Earth Immortal realm. However, this state of breakthrough didn't stop as it continued to advance towards the late Earth Immortal realm. Han Yen tried to suppress the excitement in his heart. The bloodline of Gu Tianma was circulating faster and faster. He wanted to digest all the benefits and not waste a single bit. Ka! The sound of advancement could be heard once again. Han Yen had made a breakthrough to the late Earth Immortal realm. By this time, Han Yen had advanced 3 levels consecutively, but this wasn't the end. Instead, his potential was fully unleashed. At this moment, his meridians were expanding, his Qi was enlarging and his bloodline was being stimulated. He was in a state that couldn't be found even in 10,000 years. Half-step Heaven Immortal Realm. That was right. After just half an hour of hard work, Han Yen had assailed the half-step Heavenly Immortal stage. In just half an hour, his cultivation base had risen by 4 levels. If news of such a heaven-defying rise were to spread, no one would believe it. Who knows just how many people would be shocked. Outside the door, Jiang Chen and a Huang dog widened their eyes in shock. Given their perceptive ability, they could naturally sense Han Yan's current state clearly. This was also the reason why they were shocked. Damn it, it seems like he has advanced 4 levels already. Now that he is already a half-step Heaven Immortal, it should be time for him to stop, right? De Huang dog murmured. It seems like he hasn't stopped yet. It seems like he will only stop after advancing to the Heaven Immortal realm. Jiang Chen was speechless. Han Yen had advanced 4 levels and was now a half-step Heaven Immortal realm expert. But Han Yen didn't seem to have any intention of stopping. Damn it! This peerless divine herb is too heaven-defying. De Huang dog licked his lips, apparently wanting to have a taste of the lotus heart. Given Ah Yan's strength, it's impossible for him to refine the lotus heart completely. The medicinal energy will be preserved in his body for a very long time. His advancement will also speed up because of the existence of the regenerative lotus, making him a first-class genius in the immortal world. Jiang Chen smiled. Jiang Chen felt happy for Han Yan's current achievement. Finally, Han Yan successfully advanced to the early Heaven Immortal realm. After advancing 5 levels in a row, his qi gradually retracted and the momentum of advancement finally stopped at the early Heaven Immortal realm. Upon seeing this, Jiang Chen and a Huang dog heaved a sigh of relief. If Han Yen continued to advance, their hearts wouldn't be able to take it anymore. They had never seen such an abnormal speed of advancement. No one knew how many people would be shocked to death by such speed of advancement. Inside the room, Han Yan's qi had undergone an extreme change. Gu Tianma's qi waves drifted in the air. He could clearly feel the turbulence of the surrounding airflow. As long as he willed it, he could control the airflow and fly away at any time. This was the advantage of a Heaven Immortal. Amazing! Amazing! The lotus heart of the regenerative lotus is truly terrifying. I have only refined half of its medicinal energy, and I have already reached such a level. Additionally, my severed arm has already grown back. The remaining medicinal energy in my body will bring me endless benefits in the future. Chapter 1149. Creak. The door was opened. Jiang Chen and a Huang dog walked in. Ah Yen, your advancement is a little too terrifying. Jiang Chen teased. Seeing Jiang Chen and a Huang dog, Han Yen was in a good mood. Immediately, he stood up from the praying mat on the ground. The effect of the lotus heart is truly beyond my imagination. It can actually bring me such great benefits. Now that my severed arm has been regrown, my potential has been fully developed. My bloodline has become even stronger and my cultivation base has advanced by 5 levels, reaching the early Heaven Immortal realm. Such great benefits are like a dream to me. At this moment, Han Yen felt like he was in a dream. If this didn't happen to him, even he wouldn't dare to believe it. This is good news. Given your current cultivation base, you already have the ability to protect yourself. Ordinary intermediate Heaven Immortal experts won't be a match for you. I'm afraid that you can even put up a fight against a late Heaven Immortal expert. Jiang Chen said. Gu Tianma's bloodline was getting stronger and stronger. With the support of such a powerful physique, Han Yan's combat strength was naturally incomparable to experts of the same level. In front of the mighty Gu Tianma, killing people who were at a higher level was nothing. That's right. Plus, there's still a lot of medicinal energy left in my body. My speed of advancement will be very fast in the future. Han Yan nodded. The benefits that the lotus heart brought him were far more than that. It would have a great impact on his future cultivation. By the way, Yan, there's something I need to tell you. I'm going to the Tianyun Pavilion with Fu Hui tomorrow. I'm afraid that we will have to part ways. I'm relieved to see your current cultivation base. Jiang Chen's expression suddenly turned serious. Upon hearing this, Han Yan couldn't help but frown. The two brothers had just met in the immortal world not long ago. Yan, the news about the regenerative lotus has already spread in one-line sky. You have obtained the lotus heart and Fu Hui knows about your previous cultivation base and the condition of your severed arm. If you follow me to the Tianyun Pavilion, putting aside the fact that you have advanced 5 levels in such a short period of time, the fact that you have regrown an arm is enough to arouse suspicion. Once the higher-ups of the Tianyun Pavilion notice you, the consequences will be unimaginable and we will be exposed. Jiang Chen patted Han Yan's shoulder. He also wanted Han Yan to follow him to the Tianyun Pavilion, but reality was reality. It was simply impossible. One should know that every disciple who entered the Tianyun Pavilion would be investigated. Fu Hui had to explain Han Yan's previous situation to him when he introduced Han Yan to the Tianyun Pavilion. No one could regrow an arm and advance 5 levels in just a few days. This itself was a miracle. Plus, the fact that the regenerative lotus had been stolen made it easy for people to link it to Han Yan. Plus, there was still a huge amount of medicinal energy left in Han Yan's body. If someone like Tian Muyun were to check on him, he would be able to find out immediately. This was a risk that they absolutely couldn't afford to take. And I know. Your goal in entering the Tianyun Pavilion is Tian Muyun. In that case, I'm going to leave One Line Sky and head to other big domains. I'll come back to help you when I'm strong enough, said Han Yan. He understood Jiang Chen's concern, but there was nothing he could do about it. Given his current cultivation base, he already had the ability to protect himself. He was going to leave One Line Sky temporarily and head to other big domains. Perhaps, he might be able to make a name for himself there. In the ethereal immortal world, there were tens of thousands of big domains like One Line Sky. No matter how big the immortal world was, there was bound to be a place for Han Yan. All right. The immortal world isn't like Saint Origin World. We still don't have the slightest foundation. We have to be careful in everything we do. Jiang Chen advised. Don't worry. We've been through a lot along the way. What kind of storms and waves had he not seen before? Didn't he get through all of them? But you, Tian Muyun isn't easy to deal with. You should be careful after entering the Tianyun Pavilion. Han Yan gave a carefree smile. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Yan, take advantage of the fact that Fu Hui hasn't arrived and sneak away in the middle of the night. It's best if you don't let Fu Hui see you like this. Although he's not bad, we still have to be careful and not let anyone catch us. We can't be caught by others, said Jiang Chen. Although Fu Hui was a trustworthy person, he was also a smart person. If he saw Han Yan, who was only an early heaven immortal expert, he would easily be able to figure out the key point. It was never a good thing to be caught by others. All right. Little Chenzi, De Huang, take care. Han Yan clasped his fists and left the courtyard, disappearing into the night. Now that he was already an early heaven immortal expert, flying in the sky was a piece of cake for him. When Han Yan walked over, Jiang Chen and Big Yellow felt somewhat disappointed. After all, it wasn't easy for the 3 brothers to meet in the immortal world, but they had parted ways after a very short reunion. Judging from the current situation in One Line Sky, they didn't know when they would meet again. It was estimated that it would be a very long time. This is really depressing. When we were in Saint Origin World, we were the absolute kings. Who dared to disrespect us? But here, we are like a stray dog. De Huang Dog said gloomily. Don't worry. There will be a place for us in the immortal world sooner or later. Back in Saint Origin World, didn't we also walk out step by step from a small red city? The corner of Jiang Chen's mouth revealed a trace of a smile. He liked pressure, excitement and passion. The path of cultivation was endless. Whether it was the pressure from the northern and southern dynasties or the pressure from Tian Muyun, Jiang Chen liked this feeling very much. He liked the process of progressing bit by bit, and he admired the ending of stepping on a powerful enemy. Early the next morning, Jiang Chen walked out of the courtyard and found Fu Hui at his residence. "Brother Fu, how's the trifling matter in the prefecture?" asked Jiang Chen. "Brother Jiang, there's nothing much here. With my father and a few brothers here, there's nothing much to do in Cloud Mist City. I've been waiting for you. Where's Brother Han Yen?" Fu Hui's expression changed when he saw Jiang Chen. He should have returned to the sect a long time ago. After all, cultivating in Cloud Mist City wasn't as good as cultivating in Tianyun Pavilion. The reason why he stayed in the prefecture was to wait for Jiang Chen. "Ah Yen came out of seclusion last night and left," said Jiang Chen. "Aya, Brother Han Yen is injured and his cultivation isn't strong. How can he leave alone? I've already arranged an errand for him in the prefecture," said Fu Hui. "Thank you, Brother Fu. But my brother has always been free and doesn't like to be tied down. I've disappointed Brother Fu." Jiang Chen clasped his fists at Fu Hui. Fu Hui had helped Han Yen find an errand in advance, which showed his sincerity. This made Jiang Chen's impression of Fu Hui improve a lot. Chapter 1150. All right. Since Brother Han likes to be free, I won't force him. Anyway, he has already left. "Brother Jiang, let's depart for Tianyun Pavilion now," said Fu Hui. To him, being able to help Sky Cloud Pavilion rope in a genius was considered as a great contribution to their sect. All right. Jiang Chen nodded. Entering Tianyun Pavilion was his main purpose in coming to One Line Sky. Now that he had Fu Hui's recommendation, it couldn't be any better. Fu Hui soared into the sky. Jiang Chen sat on De Huang Dog's back and flew towards the direction of Tianyun Pavilion. De Huang Dog was already an early heaven immortal expert. Even without using the wings of light, he could still fly. As for Jiang Chen, he was only at the peak of late Earth immortal realm. He hadn't even reached the half-step heaven immortal realm yet. In order to not attract too much attention, it was better for him not to fly. Given Fu Hui's ability, he could only introduce Jiang Chen to Tianyun Pavilion. Therefore, he couldn't bring Jiang Chen along. But De Huang Dog was different. In the eyes of outsiders, De Huang Dog was merely a pet of Jiang Chen. He wasn't even considered as a disciple. "Brother Fu, we haven't arrived at Tianyun Pavilion yet. Why don't you tell me some things about Tianyun Pavilion so that I can have a better understanding of it?" Jiang Chen spoke. After all, he was about to enter a new sect. It was good to have a better understanding of the sect in advance. Although Tianyun Pavilion is just a sect, it is similar to a country. It has its own complete system. The whole sect is divided into countless halls. As for the disciples, they are divided into outer sect disciples, inner sect disciples and core disciples just like other sections. Outer sect disciples are all earth immortals. Once an outer sect disciple advances to the heaven immortal realm, he or she will be promoted to inner sect disciple unconditionally. Similarly, if an inner sect disciple advances to the divine immortal realm, he or she will also be promoted to core disciple unconditionally. Fu Hui said, "The internal competition in Heavenly Cloud Pavilion is very fierce. The open and secret strife between the disciples is also very fierce. It's far from as peaceful as people think. It's also very common for disciples to form cliques. If you don't know how to behave yourself in Heavenly Cloud Pavilion, you'll definitely have a miserable end." Fu Hui's words were undoubtedly an indirect reminder to Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen shouldn't be too rash when he arrives at Tianyun Pavilion. After all, there were too many geniuses inside. If he offended an expert, he might be crippled. "Given my cultivation base, can I enter the inner sect directly?" asked Jiang Chen. His current cultivation base had reached the late Earth immortal realm. According to the rules, he could only be an outer sect disciple. He didn't want to waste time and energy with those shrimps in the outer sect. Given his current strength, he could still thrive in the inner sect. No, the disciples of Tianyun Pavilion have a strict hierarchy. Those below the heaven immortal realm are not allowed to become inner sect disciples. However, there have been some talented geniuses in Tianyun Pavilion who were able to challenge heaven immortals when they were only earth immortals. The sect will give such geniuses a chance to challenge the Iron Dummy Array. As long as they can get out of the array, they will be promoted to inner sect disciples without the restriction of cultivation base. Fu Hui said, "Iron Dummy Array? What kind of array is it?" asked Jiang Chen curiously. I haven't seen the specific iron dummy array. There aren't many people in Skycloud Pavilion who are qualified to see this array. There have always been some arrogant disciples who tried to break the array, but they all failed and were disgraced by the array. It is said that there are 28 puppets made of special materials in the iron dummy array. These puppets and the array itself have reached the most perfect coordination. Once someone enters the array, he or she will be attacked by these puppets. According to the rules, as long as the disciple who enters the array can hold on for 10 minutes, he or she will be considered to have passed the test. However, there are only a few disciples who can hold on for 10 minutes in the iron dummy array. Said Fu Hui. What's the cultivation base of these puppets? Asked Jiang Chen curiously. If there was such an array, he would be very interested in it. At least, he wouldn't need to go to the outer sect and could directly enter the inner sect. They should be early heaven immortal experts, but it is said that these puppets will adjust their combat strength according to the enemy's combat strength. The puppets themselves are supported by the array, making them immortal and very difficult to deal with. Brother Jiang, don't tell me you are thinking of challenging the iron dummy array? Fu Hui looked at Jiang Chen curiously. I do have such an idea. After all, given my current strength, ordinary heaven immortals are no match for me. I really don't want to waste my time in the outer sect. Jiang Chen nodded and said, Brother Jiang, I'm afraid that you will be disappointed. Fu Hui shrugged and spread his hands at Jiang Chen. Why do you say so, Brother Fu? Jiang Chen was a little curious. One should know that with his current combat strength, he wouldn't be afraid of the iron dummy array at all. Ordinary arrays wouldn't be able to enter Jiang Chen's eyes at all. Because the sect has a rule that disciples who have entered the sect for less than a year are not qualified to challenge the iron dummy array. So even if Brother Jiang wants to, you have no choice but to stay in the outer sect. Unless you advance to the heaven immortal realm within a year, you will be promoted to the inner sect and start cultivating in the inner sect. In Tianyun Pavilion, inner sect disciples will be able to obtain very rich cultivation resources. At least, it's not something that outer sect disciples can compare with. Fu Hui said helplessly. He knew what Jiang Chen was thinking and knew Jiang Chen's ability, but the rules of Tianyun Pavilion weren't something that he could change. If an elder was willing to make an exception and promote Jiang Chen to the inner sect, no one would say anything. Unfortunately, Fu Hui didn't have the qualification and ability to do so. Fuck. Jiang Chen rolled his eyes. What kind of bullshit rule was this? He needed at least a year to be qualified to challenge the iron dummy array. He hadn't even reached the half-step heaven immortal realm yet. Breaking through to the heaven immortal realm wasn't something that could be done in a short period of time. Don't worry, Brother Jiang. Given your ability, no one in the outer sect would dare to provoke you. But now, many outer sect disciples are supported by inner sect disciples. So, it's not good to offend them. When you enter the sect, Brother Jiang, you'll have to behave yourself. It's best not to offend inner sect disciples. All along, outer sect disciples who offend inner sect disciples will never have a good ending. Let me remind you. Fu Hui kindly reminded Jiang Chen. Thanks for the reminder, Brother Fu. Chapter 1151. Brat, what are you going to do now? De Huang Dog transmitted his voice to Jiang Chen. He knew Jiang Chen too well. With his ability, it was impossible for him to stay in the outer sect. If he insisted on keeping Jiang Chen in the outer sect, then the moment Jiang Chen stepped into the outer sect, the entire outer sect would never be peaceful again. Let's take it one step at a time. Jiang Chen shrugged. After all, he hadn't even entered Tianyun Pavilion yet. He had to wait until he entered and see what was going on. The opportunity might come later. With Fu Hui and a Huang Dog speed, it only took them 2 hours to travel from Yunwu City to Tianyun Pavilion. In front of them was a boundless mountain range. Looking from afar, the mountain range was filled with verdant trees and flowing streams. The sky was filled with a faint mist. When they arrived here, they could clearly feel that the divine qi on the mountain range had become denser. It was at least twice as dense as the divine qi in Yunwu City. This mountain range was the location of Tianyun Pavilion. When they got closer, they could clearly see the buildings on the mountain. There were all kinds of ancient palaces and towering golden pagodas. Overall, it gave people a feeling of magnificence. This was the style of a big sect. Those small sects in Yen City couldn't be compared with it. They were on a completely different level. Brother Jiang, the sect of Tianyun Pavilion is in front of us, said Fu Hui. His eyes were glowing. Every time he came to this place, he would be incomparably excited. This sect was the grandest, most honorable and largest sect he had ever seen. Although he had been here for several years, he was still amazed by the magnificence of Tianyun Pavilion every time. Similarly, a trace of pride could be seen on Fu Hui's face. It was the pride of being an inner sect disciple of Tianyun Pavilion. It was the symbol of one's identity. However, Jiang Chen and a Huang dog were somewhat calm. After all, they were people who had seen the world. Tianyun Pavilion was indeed a big sect, but compared to those super sects in Saint Origin World, it seemed weak. Putting aside the 8 families of Pure Land and Saint Origin Palace, the scale of Nebula sect alone was incomparable to Tianyun Pavilion. Of course, compared to Tianyun Pavilion, whether it was the 8 families of Pure Land or Saint Origin Palace, all of them lacked a profound foundation, and that was the heaven and earth luck. No matter how weak Tianyun Pavilion was, it was still an immortal sect. No matter how powerful Saint Origin Palace was, it was still a secular sect. There was an essential difference between the two. Brother Jiang, I'll bring you to the outer sect later. First, I'll find an elder of the outer sect to help you settle the disciple status of Tianyun Pavilion, said Fu Hui. Thank you, Brother Fu. Jiang Chen cupped his fists at Fu Hui and said gratefully. Under Fu Hui's lead, 2 men and a dog flew towards the mountain gate of Tianyun Pavilion. There were 4 disciples guarding outside the mountain gate. When they saw them flying over, they hastily went to greet them. Fu Hui and Jiang Chen also landed. The mountain gate of Tianyun Pavilion was very big. It was more than 100 meters high. The 3 words Tianyun Pavilion above the gate looked vigorous and powerful, containing great power. One had to land before the mountain gate. This was the rule of Tianyun Pavilion. Only the elders and core disciples of Divine Immortal Realm could ignore this rule. They didn't need to walk through the gate and could fly directly into the sect. Everyone below the Divine Immortal Realm had to land outside the mountain gate and enter through the gate. Even if they had to fly after entering the mountain gate, it wouldn't be a problem. The 4 disciples who were guarding the mountain gate were all outer sect disciples of Earth Immortal Realm. When they saw Fu Hui, they hastily went forward and saluted. Oh, it's Senior Brother Fu. The 4 of them were very respectful to Fu Hui. This was the basic respect that outer sect disciples had for inner sect disciples. In this world where the strong were respected and strength was the most important, the gap between levels was very obvious. Moreover, Fu Hui could be considered as a celebrity. Few people didn't know him, be it the outer sect or the inner sect. Fu Hui nodded casually and strode into the sect. Senior Brother Fu, may I know who this is? He doesn't seem to be from Tianyun Pavilion, does he? A disciple asked. He's the Jiang Chen who destroyed the mine of Shenyang School. I recommended him to join Tianyun Pavilion. From now on, we'll be fellow disciples. Fu Hui said with a smile. What? He's Jiang Chen? The 4 of them exclaimed at the same time. Their eyes immediately fell on Jiang Chen. During this period of time, Jiang Chen's name had spread across the entire one-line sky. As a rival force to Shenyang School, Tianyun Pavilion naturally knew about it. Usually, there were many topics about this audacious figure in the sect. They didn't expect that the real person would appear in front of them so soon. However, this young man who looked like a handsome scholar was different from the ferocious and fiendish appearance that they had imagined. Jiang Chen smiled at them, then followed Fu Hui into Tianyun Pavilion, leaving the 4 of them who were still in a state of shock. I never thought that this guy is Jiang Chen. I heard that this guy is only an Earth Immortal, but he could already fight against a Heaven Immortal. After destroying a mine of Shenyang School, he was able to escape from a late Heaven Immortal expert. He's simply inhuman. That's right. He's a rare genius. Never thought that Senior Brother Fu would rope him in. A genius is a genius, but I'm afraid that joining our Tianyun Pavilion is a dream come true for him. After all, he has offended Shenyang School. Shenyang School has already issued a must-kill order for him. Under such circumstances, only our Tianyun Pavilion would dare to take him in. That's right. If this guy is really a genius, then our Tianyun Pavilion will be bustling again. There's no lack of geniuses in the sect. The competition between geniuses is extremely intense. The 4 of them began to discuss. They didn't dare to underestimate Jiang Chen. A guy who dared to offend Shenyang School was destined to not be a kind person. If such a person were to join Tianyun Pavilion, they were afraid that the conflict between him and the other geniuses would be inevitable. Under Fu Hui's lead, Jiang Chen and the others arrived at the outer sect. Given Fu Hui's identity, he could go to the Institute of Elders of the outer sect and get an identity jade token for Jiang Chen, allowing Jiang Chen to officially become an outer disciple of Tianyun Pavilion. Today, there was only an old man called Niu Mang in the Institute of Elders. Most of the elders in the Institute of Elders of the outer sect were idlers. Most of the elders would cultivate by themselves and rarely manage the affairs of the sect. Generally, the Institute of Elders would ignore the conflicts between the disciples. The purpose of the sect was competition. As long as no one was killed, the Institute of Elders would rarely intervene. When Elder Niu Mang saw the arrival of Fu Hui, he hastily came to greet him. "Young Master Fu Hui, what brings you to our Institute of Elders today?" Chapter 1152. Elder Niu, I'm here to introduce a disciple to the sect, said Fu Hui. Then he turned to Jiang Chen and said, Brother Jiang, this is Elder Niu Mang of the outer sect. You can get to know each other first. Young Master Fu Hui rarely introduces people to the sect. I think the person you're recommending must be a genius, said Niu Mang with a smile. As an ordinary elder of the outer sect, he wouldn't dare to offend Fu Hui. Plus, recommending an outer sect disciple wasn't a big deal to him. Of course it's a genius, a super genius. Elder Niu, this is Jiang Chen, the one who has caused a stir in One Line Sky recently. Fu Hui introduced. Upon hearing the name Jiang Chen, Niu Mang's facial expression changed visibly. His reaction was no different from that of the other four disciples. You're the Jiang Chen who managed to escape from the hands of a late heaven immortal expert? Niu Mang asked in astonishment. The incident of Shenyang School's mine had already spread across the entire One Line Sky. Because of the order to kill on sight in Shenyang School, it was hard not to know about Jiang Chen. Brat, I didn't expect you to be so famous. De Huang Dog darted a glance at Jiang Chen. Of course. My name is like a signboard wherever I go. Jiang Chen shrugged. Greetings, Elder Niu. I'm Jiang Chen and I've come to join Tianyun Pavilion with sincerity. I'm sure Elder Niu has already heard about my matter. I've offended Shenyang School and I have nowhere else to go. So I'm sure Elder Niu is aware of my sincerity in joining Tianyun Pavilion. Jiang Chen went straight to the point. He wouldn't put on airs because of his talent. Sometimes, it would be easier for him to gain a good impression by lowering himself. Moreover, this was Ouyang He's sect. His purpose for targeting Tianyun Pavilion was only Tian Muyun. Of course. Given your talent, Jiang Chen, your future achievements will be limitless. Now that Shenyang School has issued the order to kill on sight, Tianyun Pavilion is the only sect that dares to accept you. Plus, you're recommended by young Master Fu Hui, so there's no doubt about your sincerity. This old man will immediately process the jade token for you. Niu Mang immediately said. He had no doubt about the purpose of Jiang Chen's visit. Under normal circumstances, if a new disciple wanted to join a sect, he or she would have to go through a strict assessment. First of all, it was necessary to ensure that the disciple was sincere in joining and would not have any ulterior motives towards the sect. After all, Tianyun Pavilion had a lot of enemies. It would be hard to guard against any of them if they managed to sneak in. However, Jiang Chen's identity didn't need to be assessed at all. The order to kill on sight from Shenyang School was enough to prove Jiang Chen's identity and intention. Young Master Fu Hui, you've introduced a genius to the sect. This old man will ask the inner sect elders courtyard to give you some rewards, said Niu Mang. In Tianyun Pavilion, whether it was the outer sect elders courtyard, the inner sect elders courtyard, or the core elders courtyard, they were all interconnected. It was just that they had different statuses. To put it bluntly, the status of the elders courtyard was worlds apart. Thank you, Fu Hui said casually. As a matter of fact, he didn't care about these rewards at all. The main thing was to make friends with Jiang Chen. Although Jiang Chen was a genius, his cultivation was too low. He was just an earth immortal. He would only be an outer sect disciple in Tianyun Pavilion. He wouldn't get any good rewards if he introduced an outer sect disciple to the sect. Next, the process for the identity jade card went smoothly. After Jiang Chen got the jade card, Niu Mang found a place for him to stay and then left him alone. Although Jiang Chen was a genius, he didn't receive any good treatment. After all, the sect didn't lack geniuses. The place where Jiang Chen stayed was a huge dormitory area. There were buildings everywhere. It was noon now, but there were very few people here. This made Jiang Chen and De Huang Dog a little puzzled. Brother Fu, Tianyun Pavilion is a first-class sect in one-line sky. There are thousands of outer sect disciples. Why can't I see a single person? Jiang Chen asked curiously. This is the time when the immortal qi is the densest. Naturally, everyone would go to the martial arts hall to cultivate. Fu Hui said. Martial arts hall? What kind of place is that? Jiang Chen asked. It's a place for disciples to cultivate. There are a total of 3 martial arts halls in Tianyun Pavilion. The outer sect martial arts hall, the inner sect martial arts hall, and the martial arts hall for core disciples. The martial arts hall was built by the experts of the sect. It has a huge array. The immortal qi inside is much denser than outside. Cultivating in the martial arts hall is very beneficial. Fu Hui explained. Upon hearing this, Jiang Chen's eyes sparkled with a cunning radiance. He had always been dissatisfied with being an outer sect disciple, but he couldn't find a way to enter the inner sect. Now that Fu Hui's reminder had given him a plan, Jiang Chen's mind instantly came up with a plan. Brother Fu, bring me to the martial arts hall. Jiang Chen said. Brother Jiang is going to the martial arts hall to cultivate so soon? Fu Hui was stunned. He didn't expect Jiang Chen to be so fanatical about cultivation. How could he know that Jiang Chen didn't care about a mere martial arts hall even though he was fanatical about cultivation? He had an ulterior motive for going to the martial arts hall. Am I not qualified to cultivate in the martial arts hall now? Jiang Chen asked. That's not it. You have already obtained the identity jade token. You are already a disciple of Tianyun Pavilion. Naturally, you are qualified to enter the martial arts hall. All right, I will bring you there now. You can go cultivate. I have to return to the inner sect. Fu Hui said and brought Jiang Chen to the outer sect martial arts hall. Kid, what wicked idea do you have this time? De Huang Dog transmitted a message to Jiang Chen. Fu Hui couldn't see through Jiang Chen's thoughts, but De Huang Dog could. Just by looking at Jiang Chen's eyes, he knew that this guy was up to no good. He had just arrived at Tianyun Pavilion, and he had already thought of a plan? If I make the entire outer sect unable to cultivate normally, they will definitely give me a chance to enter the inner sect. Jiang Chen let out a mischievous laugh. De Huang Dog rolled his eyes. Although he couldn't figure out what wicked idea Jiang Chen had, he had already prayed silently for those outer sect disciples in his heart. To them, encountering Jiang Chen was an extremely unlucky thing. Soon, under Fu Hui's lead, Jiang Chen and De Huang Dog arrived at the martial arts hall. The martial arts hall was a 9-story golden pagoda, emitting golden brilliance. This pagoda reminded Jiang Chen of the refining pagoda in Saint Origin Palace. Both of them had the same function, they were both used for cultivation. After bidding farewell to Fu Hui, Jiang Chen and De Huang Dog went straight into the martial arts hall. Since he had obtained the identity jade token, he didn't encounter any obstruction. What are you going to do? Asked De Huang Dog curiously. You will know in a moment. Chapter 1153. Jiang Chen strode into the martial arts hall with De Huang Dog. The interior of the martial arts hall was extremely spacious and was divided into many rooms. In every room, there were plenty of people cultivating. The immortal aura in this place was extremely dense and couldn't be compared to the outside world. The immortal aura in this place is several times denser than the outside world. It was absorbed and compressed by the array. Cultivating in this place is indeed much better than the outside world. De Huang Dog said. Let's find a place first. Jiang Chen randomly chose a room. At this moment, the stone door of the room was tightly shut. He could clearly feel the cultivation aura of the disciples inside and hear different sounds coming out from time to time. Jiang Chen didn't care so much and didn't care if his actions would disturb the people cultivating inside. He went up and pushed the stone door open. If someone else came late, they would definitely carefully push open the stone door, afraid that they would make too much noise and affect the people inside. If there was an existence inside that they could not afford to offend, and it just so happened that they were at the most crucial moment of their cultivation, then they would be in trouble. Unfortunately, Jiang Chen didn't care so much. He came with a plan. Therefore, the way he opened the door was very barbaric and rude. Naturally, the noise he made was also very loud. It was impossible for him to not disturb the cultivation of the disciples inside. Such an action instantly caused dissatisfaction among the disciples inside. There were nearly 20 disciples inside. At this moment, all of them opened their eyes and looked angrily at the man and dog who walked in. They wanted to see who was so bold and dared to ignore the rules of the martial arts hall. They must be tired of living. There were 20 people in a room. This was the treatment of the outer sect disciples. If it was an inner sect disciple, there would be at most 2 or 3 people in a room. If it was a core disciple, he would have his own individual cultivation place. This was the difference between the grades. Who are you? Are you new here? Don't you know to be careful when entering? Someone shouted at Jiang Chen. In their eyes, Jiang Chen was a stranger, and they had never seen him before. But since he was able to walk into the martial arts hall, it meant that he had the identity jade token of Tianyun Pavilion. It meant that he was a newcomer. There were too many outer sect disciples in Tianyun Pavilion, and there would always be newcomers. It was normal for them to not know each other. Jiang Chen didn't care about these angry gazes at all. He looked around the empty room and realized that there were no more praying mats for cultivation. Praying mats were special things. Sitting on them to cultivate could help people calm down and concentrate, and it could also help them condense immortal qi. Of course, for Jiang Chen, he didn't need something like a praying mat, but he wanted one today. Why did you bring a dog in? Get out. This is the martial arts hall. Who gave you the right to bring a beast in? A mid-earth immortal shouted. Because Jiang Chen's action of opening the stone door had already aroused everyone's disgust. Now that Jiang Chen had brought a dog with him, they naturally wouldn't give Jiang Chen any face. Then, Jiang Chen's eyes locked on that mid-earth immortal disciple. He was just worrying about where to start, and this guy had delivered himself to him. Jiang Chen walked up to the disciple and said with an indifferent tone, "You, get up, I'm going to take this cushion." What? Is he robbing me as soon as he arrived? For a moment, it wasn't just the disciple who was stunned. All the outer sect disciples on the scene were dumbfounded, staring at Jiang Chen in disbelief. Did this bastard have to be so arrogant? He immediately started a fight the moment he arrived. In Skycloud Pavilion, it was common for people to fight each other for a cultivation mat, but none of them were as tyrannical as this. Forcefully opening the door, interrupting the cultivation of his fellow apprentices, and bringing a dog in. This was simply lawless. Damn! Are all the newcomers so arrogant now? We haven't even found any trouble with him and he already came to rob us. This bastard seems to be courting death. A newcomer who doesn't know the immensity of the heavens and the immensity of the earth will definitely not have a good ending for him. The crowd couldn't stand it anymore. Some of them even stood up from their praying mats and surrounded Jiang Chen. There were many late Earth Immortal experts among them, but none of them were half-step heaven immortals. Hua! The disciple who was robbed by Jiang Chen suddenly stood up from the ground. His face was filled with anger. Without saying a word, he raised his fist and punched towards Jiang Chen's face. Brat, don't you know what kind of place this is? Are you courting death? Pah! Unfortunately, this punch was like a showy but impractical move in front of Jiang Chen. His fist was caught by Jiang Chen. Then, Jiang Chen exerted a little force. With a cracking sound, the younger brother's entire arm was twisted and broken on the spot. Arg! A blood-curdling scream was heard. That disciple's forehead was covered with cold sweat due to the pain, but he was even more shocked in his heart. He never thought that this guy in front of him could be so abnormally powerful. Get lost! Jiang Chen casually kicked the disciple away, then came to the praying mat and sat down to cultivate. Damn it! This bastard is too arrogant. Everyone, let's kill him together. Someone shouted out loudly. 20 men surrounded Jiang Chen at the same time. They had seen arrogant men before, but they had never seen someone as arrogant as this. This newcomer didn't put them in his eyes at all, and he attacked them as soon as he arrived. How could this happen? Fine. Since you guys dare to disrespect me, I will punish you by breaking one arm each. Jiang Chen said casually. After that, he struck with lightning speed. In the next moment, the entire room was filled with blood-curdling screams, accompanied by the sound of bones breaking. In just a dozen seconds, all 20 of them had fallen to the ground, wailing in pain. At this time, apart from anger, there was more fear in their eyes when they looked at Jiang Chen. This man was just too strong. No one in the outer sect had ever seen such a tyrannical expert. Even a half-step heaven immortal expert wouldn't be able to cripple all of them in a dozen seconds. All of them couldn't help but wonder where this bastard came from. When did such a powerful figure appear in the outer sect? Jiang Chen casually clapped his hands, ignored those wailing disciples, and sat on the praying mat. De Huang, do you still remember the scene in the refining tower? Jiang Chen smiled at De Huang. Kaka, of course I remember. You are such a bad guy. De Huang Dog's face was filled with excitement. He already knew what Jiang Chen was going to do. Dragon transformation skill, absorb it. Chapter 1154. What's going on? Why is the immortal Qi gone all of a sudden? Who is it? Who did this? All the immortal Qi has been sucked clean. Is there something wrong with the array that caused all the immortal Qi to disappear at the same time? Many of the outer sect disciples in the rooms were shocked. They had been cultivating in the martial arts hall for a long time, but they had never encountered such a thing. If the sect wanted to change the array, they would definitely inform them in advance. And this was just the beginning. The immortal Qi in countless rooms began to be sucked out one by one, leaving the rooms empty. This situation made the outer sect disciples think that there must be something wrong with the array. They shouldn't think so, because the immortal Qi in the entire martial arts hall was incomparably dense. It was impossible for a single person to absorb it in such a short period of time. In just a dozen minutes, the entire martial arts hall was in an uproar. All the stone doors were opened, and many disciples ran out, but no one could find the reason. At this moment, Jiang Chen pushed open the stone door and swaggered out of the martial arts hall with De Huang Dog, disappearing quickly. Kaka, this is really a vicious move of yours. I guess those guys still don't know what happened. De Huang Dog shouted excitedly. This is just the first day. Jiang Chen shrugged his shoulders. He had to admit that absorbing so much dense immortal Qi was very beneficial to Jiang Chen. Although he didn't condense any new dragon pattern, his foundation was strengthened a little. If you go on like this every day, those outer sect disciples won't be able to continue their lives. De Huang Dog said. That's why I said that the outer sect isn't a place for me to stay. Jiang Chen said. The martial arts hall was in an uproar at this moment. Countless outer sect disciples gathered together and were discussing what happened just now. What's going on? The martial arts hall had been established for such a long time, and nothing like this had ever happened before. If the array formation had a problem, the elders should have informed us in advance. Even if the array formation had lost its effect, there should still be some immortal aura left in the martial arts hall. Now, it had actually been sucked dry. Look, there is no problem with the array formation. The immortal aura in the martial arts hall is starting to condense again. This is the effect of the array formation. However, according to this speed, it will take at least tomorrow for the immortal aura to return to its previous state. We can only come back tomorrow. Since there's nothing wrong with the formation, what happened just now? Could it be that someone absorbed all the immortal Qi at once? That's impossible. The immortal energy here is too thick. It's impossible for someone from the outer sect to possess such great abilities. Everyone was discussing, but they could not find the main reason. At first they thought that there was a problem with the formation, but now that the formation was still operating at high speed, continuously gathering new celestial Qi, this meant that there was no problem with the formation, which was really strange. Everyone, look! Someone saw some disciples lying on the floor in the room where Jiang Chen was, and quickly rushed into the room. The scene in front of them shocked them. All 20 disciples were lying on the floor, and all their arms were broken. Also, it seemed like they had been brutally beaten, so much so that they couldn't even stand on their feet anymore. What happened? Who beat you guys? A half-step heaven immortal outer sect disciple frowned and asked. He was Wang Tao, one of the top disciples in the outer sect, a half-step heaven immortal, just a step away from the true heaven immortal realm. He was the genius who had the highest chance of advancing to the heaven immortal realm in the shortest time possible and enter the inner sect. Yes, it's a newcomer. Senior brother Wang, you have to stand up for us. Someone said while crying. What? A newcomer? A newcomer actually beat up a senior disciple? How could this be? What a ruthless attack, but I can see that this person still had some leeway. Although his arm was broken, it's just a fracture. It's just a superficial wound that will recover in a short period of time. How dare he? Even if it's just a disagreement, he didn't have to be so heavy-handed. Everyone sighed. While they were shocked by the ruthlessness of this newcomer, they were even more shocked by this newcomer's strength. There were a few late Earth Immortal experts here. Didn't that mean that this newcomer's cultivation base was at least a half-step Heaven Immortal? Oh yes, Senior Brother Wang, the Immortal Qi here was completely absorbed by that newcomer. Someone said. They had been staying in this room all the time, so they saw how Jiang Chen absorbed the Immortal Qi. There was no mistake about it. What? This time, everyone exclaimed. All the questions had been answered, but no one believed it. Even a half-step Heaven Immortal expert wouldn't be able to absorb all the Immortal Qi in the Martial Palace in such a short period of time. Furthermore, the Immortal Qi here was constantly being condensed due to the support of the formation. This was also the reason why the amount of Immortal Qi in the Martial Palace didn't decrease even though there were so many disciples cultivating here every day. Is what you said true? Wang Tao asked with a frown. After all, this matter was too unbelievable. It's completely true. That bastard even brought a dog with him. He is very powerful. He snatched our praying mats and knocked all of us to the ground. I don't know what method he used, but he instantly absorbed all the immortal energy in the room. Then, all the immortal energy in the entire martial arts hall was absorbed by him. That person's body is like a bottomless pit. It's simply too terrifying. Someone recalled the scene just now and still had lingering fear in his heart. What's his cultivation base? Wang Tao continued to ask. I can't tell, but the fact that he could come here to cultivate, he must have obtained the identity jade token of an outer disciple. That means he must be an Earth Immortal expert. Someone said. Impossible. An Earth Immortal can't be so powerful. The Immortal Qi in the Martial Palace is very dense. Not to mention a half-step Heaven Immortal. Even a half-step Divine Immortal would find it hard to absorb it all at once. This isn't something a human can do. No one believed that they had never seen such an abnormal Earth Immortal before. Where is that man now? Wang Tao continued to ask. He left before you all came in. I don't know where he went. Someone answered. Where can a new disciple go? He must have gone to the dormitory area. Let's go and take a look. No matter how perverted this person is, he can't do this. He absorbed all the immortal qi by himself and didn't even leave a strand of hair for us. How are we going to cultivate? Chapter 1155. Outside the dormitory was a spacious square. No one knew where Jiang Chen got a rattan chair from. He reclined on it lazily with his legs crossed, enjoying the warm sun. De Huang dog kept glaring at him, but Jiang Chen turned a blind eye to it. The reason why Jiang Chen was sitting here was because he was waiting for the outer sect disciples who were coming at him angrily. Not long after, a large number of outer sect disciples appeared on the square from the direction of the martial hall. There were at least a few hundred of them. Jiang Chen took a casual glance and thought that this Tianyun pavilion was indeed a major force in one-line sky. Just the aura of these outer sect disciples alone was incomparable to ordinary people. Moreover, among these people, there were at least 5 to 6 half-step Heaven Immortal experts and many of them were late Earth Immortal experts. There were thousands of outer sect disciples in Tianyun Pavilion. These people in front of him were just a small part of them. Those angry outer sect disciples saw Jiang Chen at first glance. They didn't know who Jiang Chen was, but they had heard the description of him from those people just now. Plus, this man was accompanied by a dog, which was the most obvious sign. Soon, hundreds of outer sect disciples arrived not far away from Jiang Chen. There were still a large number of disciples coming from behind. It seemed like Jiang Chen had angered the public, but Jiang Chen's method was indeed the kind that deserved to be killed. You are probably the first newcomer in the history of Tianyun Pavilion to be so unpopular. De Huang dog said while wagging his tail. So what? Jiang Chen shrugged his shoulders. Facing hundreds of Earth Immortal experts, his expression didn't change at all, nor did he show any fear. You are the newcomer? You injured someone on your first day here. A half-step Heaven Immortal genius said. They offended me. Naturally, I have to teach them a lesson. I'm just telling them with facts that those who offend me will not have a good ending. So, you better stay away from me and don't provoke me. Jiang Chen said indifferently. He didn't even lift his butt during the whole process. Fact. Sure enough, this bastard was very arrogant. There were a few half-step Heaven Immortal experts on the scene and they were the top geniuses of the outer sect. In the outer sect, no one dared to look down on them, but this bastard didn't even lift his head to look at them. Damn it, how did this bastard join Tianyun Pavilion? Are his eyes growing on top of his head? Too arrogant. Arrogant. I've never seen such an arrogant person before. Today, I'll definitely teach him a lesson and let him know that newcomers shouldn't be arrogant. Otherwise, he won't be able to imagine or bear the consequences. Don't talk nonsense with him. Just attack him. Many of the disciples couldn't stand it anymore. Some of them even rubbed their fists, seemingly wanting to teach this arrogant bastard a lesson. Although this bastard was very strong and could defeat 20 outer sect disciples, there were hundreds of them, including 6 half-step heaven immortals and a genius like Wang Tao. Everyone knew Wang Tao's strength very well. He had once defeated an early heaven immortal elder without using his flying ability. All the immortal chi in the martial palace was absorbed by you? Wang Tao opened his mouth and spoke. His chi was overbearing and pressed towards Jiang Chen. Yes, my cultivation technique is a little special. I need to absorb a large amount of immortal chi every time, Jiang Chen said disapprovingly. After hearing what Jiang Chen said, many of them were incomparably shocked. What kind of powerful cultivation technique could achieve this? It was simply impossible. Jiang Chen must be lying, but one thing was for sure. The loss of the immortal chi in the martial palace was really related to Jiang Chen. Brat, I don't care who you are. I don't care what method you use to absorb all the immortal chi, but your action has damaged the normal cultivation of the other disciples. So you must pay the price. Wang Tao said. Price. Jiang Chen slowly stood up from the rattan chair and walked towards Wang Tao. He squinted his eyes and said, What price do you want? Hiss. Wang Tao's soul shivered. He didn't know why, but under the gaze of Jiang Chen, he felt uncomfortable and his soul couldn't help but shiver. His intuition told him that this young man in front of him wasn't simple. But this was not the time to retreat. He had already made a name for himself. If he retreated now, all the outer sect disciples would look down on him, and he wouldn't be able to survive in the outer sect anymore. Humph. It's very simple. You have injured so many disciples. You have to bear the cost of their treatment and the loss of the immortal chi. You also have to apologize to all the disciples in front of everyone. Wang Tao snorted coldly. In his opinion, this was already a very small price to pay. Nice words. Unfortunately, you still have the ability to make me pay the price. Let me give you a piece of advice. If you see me in the future, stay far away from me and don't provoke me. Also, from today onwards, all the immortal chi in the martial palace will belong to me. You guys go find another place to cultivate. Jiang Chen said. His words were extremely arrogant. It had completely touched the bottom line of all the outer sect disciples. Damn it! This bastard is too arrogant. The martial palace is a place for everyone to cultivate. How dare he chase us away and make it his own? This is intolerable. Damn it! Kill him. Who asked him to be so arrogant? Many of them couldn't stand it anymore. Some of them had already unleashed their immortal chi, ready to attack Jiang Chen at any time. Courting death. Let me teach him a lesson. Let's see what gives him the right to be so arrogant. A half-step heaven immortal disciple beside Wang Tao was infuriated. With a roar, he threw a punch that carried a powerful chi at Jiang Chen. Pah! Facing this man's attack, Jiang Chen didn't even look at it. He just casually slapped the disciple's face. That half-step heaven immortal expert let out a blood-curdling scream. His whole body was sent flying away by the slap. His body landed 10 meters away with a puff, spitting out 2 bloody teeth. What? The crowd was in an uproar. Everyone, including Wang Tao, stared with wide eyes, unable to believe what they were seeing. The disciples who had been ready to attack all at once now hurriedly retracted their auras. They were truly frightened out of their wits. How strong was this bastard? Chapter 1156. No one wasn't shocked. The entire scene fell into silence. That was a half-step heaven immortal expert, the strongest expert in the outer sect. Despite such a cultivation base, he was sent flying away with a single slap without any strength to fight back. How could this scrawny and weak-looking guy be so powerful? How could this be? Who is this guy? How could such a powerful guy come to our outer sect? Is the sect trying to make life difficult for us? That's right. He should have entered the inner sect directly. Why did he come to the outer sect to compete with us? There must be a reason why he came to the outer sect. The sect will decide whether a newcomer will enter the outer sect or the inner sect based on their cultivation. Since this guy came to the outer sect, it means that his cultivation hasn't reached the heaven immortal realm. If that's the case, it's too scary. How could there be such a powerful earth immortal? That's right. He's too powerful. Even if Sect Master Tion was here, he wouldn't be able to do what he did. What's the background of this guy? No matter what his background is, he has already affected our normal cultivation. We have to get justice for him. Let's attack together. I don't believe he can defeat us. These outer sect disciples were shocked and angry. Some of them gritted their teeth, but none of them dared to attack again. Even Wang Tao gave up the idea of attacking Jiang Chen. He was slightly stronger than the outer sect disciple who attacked just now, but only slightly. He still had no chance of winning against Jiang Chen. Brat, do you know what you are doing? You are making an enemy of all the outer sect disciples. It won't do you any good, Wang Tao said fiercely. His fists were clenched tightly, but he didn't dare to attack. I don't think I did anything wrong. You guys were the ones who provoked me, and you guys were the ones who made the first move. I was just passively fighting back. As for me absorbing the immortal aura in the martial arts hall, that was my own capability. Didn't you guys enter the martial arts hall to cultivate to absorb the immortal aura? I'm just absorbing faster and more than all of you. Is this a violation of the sect's rules? Jiang Chen said in an indifferent tone. After listening to his explanation, those outer sect disciples were stunned on the spot. Each and every one of their faces were filled with astonishment. This bastard had absorbed all the immortal energy and even injured someone. What he said was actually reasonable, and they actually couldn't refute it because the martial arts hall was originally prepared for the outer sect disciples to absorb a large amount of immortal energy. Jiang Chen had absorbed all the immortal energy, and that was his own ability. It didn't seem to violate any sect rules. So if I don't provoke you, you'd better not provoke me either, because I'm an existence that you can't afford to provoke, Jiang Chen said with a smile. De Huang Dog, who was at the side, grinned. He really admired Jiang Chen from the bottom of his heart. This was what it meant to be powerful. Even after beating someone up, Jiang Chen wasn't afraid. Jiang Chen was in the right, and absorbing the immortal energy wasn't wrong. As for injuring someone, be it in the martial arts hall or here, Jiang Chen seemed to be the one who made the first move. Since he made the first move, Jiang Chen naturally had to fight back. Kid, what's your name? Wang Tao gritted his teeth. It seemed like there was no way to solve today's matter. It was impossible for him to make a move. He couldn't even see through Jiang Chen's cultivation. It seemed like he could only find an inner sect disciple to teach this arrogant guy a lesson. However, he still had to know the name of this new disciple. Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen reported his name. There was no need for him to conceal his name. After all, he was already a disciple of Skycloud Pavilion. That's right. Jiang Chen? Why does this name sound so familiar? Some of them frowned. They all felt that this name sounded familiar, but they couldn't recall where they had seen it before. Jiang Chen. He is Jiang Chen, the one who issued the order to kill in Shenyang School, Jiang Chen. Finally, someone recalled the origin of the name Jiang Chen and exclaimed on the spot. What? He is the Jiang Chen who destroyed a mine in Shenyang School and successfully escaped from a late heaven immortal expert? How did he come to our Tianyun Pavilion? That's right. It must be him. No wonder he's so powerful. I heard that he was able to fly when he was only an Earth Immortal expert and could even fight against a Heaven Immortal expert. I never thought that this monstrous genius would join our Tianyun Pavilion. That's right. He is now being hunted by Shenyang School and the order to kill has been issued. Apart from our Tianyun Pavilion, he has nowhere else to go. This malefic star even dared to destroy a mine in Shenyang School. He's a true ferocious genius. Today, we finally witnessed how powerful he is. We are no match for him. Everyone exclaimed. The way they looked at Jiang Chen had changed. Many of the outer sect disciples looked at Jiang Chen with a trace of admiration instead of anger. That's right. They were all young men, but he was able to do something earth-shattering. How could they not admire him? If it was them, even if they had the strength of Jiang Chen, they probably wouldn't have the courage to do it. After Jiang Chen left his name, he turned and walked towards the dormitory area. ignoring those outer sect disciples. He had already achieved his goal on the first day he came to Tianyun Pavilion. Next, there would be a better show to watch. Looking at the back of Jiang Chen, hundreds of outer sect disciples were speechless. They were originally here to find trouble with Jiang Chen. But now, it seemed that this trouble wouldn't be solved so easily. Senior Brother Wang, what should we do now? This malefic star actually came to our outer sect. If we let him cultivate in the martial arts hall, we won't have any good days. That's right. With his strength, he should be able to enter the inner sect directly. Such a prodigy came to the outer sect to compete with us for cultivation resources. This is too unfair to us. What else can we do? We can only seek help from the inner sect experts. In the entire outer sect, no one is a match for Jiang Chen. Everyone began to discuss. They all felt that they should seek help from the inner sect experts to suppress Jiang Chen. Otherwise, Jiang Chen would be the absolute king of the outer sect. No one would be able to suppress him. Only Jiang Chen would be able to suppress them. Don't alert the inner sect first. I will go to the Elders' Hall to explain the matter, and ask if the Elders' Hall is going to intervene. Chapter 1157. On the same day, Wang Tao gathered some half-step heaven immortal experts and went to the Institute of Elders to tell them about Jiang Chen's incident. The one who received them was still Elder Niu Mang. After hearing the news, Niu Mang was stunned because if he remembered correctly, this Jiang Chen had just arrived at Tianyun Pavilion not long ago. At most it would be 2 hours. AI. A prodigy is a prodigy. Some people are destined to be different no matter where they go. Niu Mang sighed and said to Wang Tao and the others, "You guys go back. There's nothing wrong with him absorbing the immortal qi." What? He sent them away just like that? Jiang Chen absorbing the immortal qi was indeed not wrong. But if Jiang Chen continued to absorb it like this, how were they going to live in the future? Elder, this guy is a freak. He absorbed all the immortal qi in the entire martial arts hall in just 10 minutes. Not a single bit was left for us. How are we going to cultivate in the future? Someone said with a sad face. I think that Jiang Chen did this because he didn't know the rules on his first day here. Didn't you guys find trouble with him? I believe he will restrain himself in the future. Niu Mang said. Restrain? Elder, this guy is very arrogant. I don't think he will restrain himself. If we have a way to solve it ourselves, we don't have to come to the Institute of Elders. Wang Tao was speechless. This Elder Niu Mang obviously didn't want to get involved. All right, go back. Jiang Chen didn't do anything wrong. It's not worth the Institute of Elders to get involved. Niu Mang chased them away impatiently. The Institute of Elders didn't usually care about the fights between the disciples. Moreover, Niu Mang had a good impression of Jiang Chen. He even wanted to befriend Jiang Chen. After all, ordinary people didn't have the ability to absorb all the immortal qi in the martial arts hall. In the end, although Wang Tao and the others were unwilling, they had no choice but to leave the Institute of Elders. Senior Brother Wang, what should we do now? It looks like the Elder Council isn't going to do anything about this. In my opinion, we should ask our senior disciples from the inner circle to stand up for us. That Jiang Chen is too arrogant. We need to suppress him. Someone said. As a half-step heaven immortal expert and one of the best experts in outer sect, they often kept in touch with some inner sect experts. Obviously, it was no longer possible to seek help from the Institute of Elders. Under such circumstances, they could only seek help from the inner sect experts to suppress the situation. Don't be anxious. Let's wait and see tomorrow. Let's see if Jiang Chen will restrain himself a little. No matter how talented he is, I don't believe that he would dare to go against all the outer sect disciples. Wang Tao said. Many geniuses had appeared in Tianyun Pavilion, but no matter how talented they were, they wouldn't let themselves become the target of public criticism and become the target of everyone's hatred. In that case, it wouldn't do them any good. The next day, not long after the immortal aura in the martial arts hall was restored, a large group of outer sect disciples headed over. However, when they entered, they were so infuriated by the situation inside that they vomited blood again. The entire martial arts hall was empty again. Apart from the simple air, there was no trace of immortal aura. Damn it! That bastard has been here. God damn it! He came so early to absorb all the immortal qi. He must have done it on purpose. Damn it! We can't cultivate today. We can only come again tomorrow when the immortal Qi is restored. What if he comes earlier tomorrow? If this goes on, we won't be able to continue our days. Many of them were on the verge of spurting out blood. An ingrate had come to the outer sect, leaving no leeway for the other outer sect disciples. If this continued, all the cultivation resources in the outer sect would be taken away by Jiang Chen. By that time, how could they still cultivate? On the third day, the same situation happened again. It was as if Jiang Chen had calculated the time. The moment the immortal Qi in the martial arts palace was restored, he would go in and sweep it clean. Then, he would leave without leaving any leeway for the other disciples. Their days couldn't continue. Many of the outer sect disciples were going crazy. If this continued, the outer sect would be in chaos. This won't do. This bastard has gone crazy. He doesn't leave any immortal Qi for us. We can't let him continue like this. Sigh. I didn't expect this Jiang Chen to be so arrogant. Since he has gone to the extreme, we can't just sit here and wait for death. The Elders Institute isn't going to do anything. We can only ask the experts in the inner sect to help us. Yes, we have to suppress him. Otherwise, we won't be able to continue our days. It had been like this for 3 consecutive days. From the looks of it, Jiang Chen wouldn't be able to stop. He had become the public enemy of the outer sect. He must be suppressed as soon as possible. Otherwise, the others wouldn't be able to cultivate anymore. None of the outer sect geniuses was a match for Jiang Chen, let alone suppressing him. I heard that Senior Brother Wang has a good relationship with Senior Brother Feng Hao of the inner sect. Why don't you ask Senior Brother Feng Hao for help? Senior Brother Feng Hao is a mid-heaven immortal expert. He has a certain status in the inner sect. It won't be easy to ask him for help. We have to ask him even if we can't. If we can't suppress Jiang Chen, how are we going to cultivate in the future? At this time, Wang Tao was naturally elected to take on the heavy responsibility of standing up for the outer sect disciples. All right. I will go to the inner sect now and see Senior Brother Feng Hao. Let's see what he has to say. As soon as Wang Tao finished speaking, he walked towards the direction of the inner sect. At this time, there was no way to avoid it anymore. Not long after that, 2 silhouettes flew back from the sky and landed in front of the martial palace. At this time, a large number of outer sect disciples were still gathered in the martial palace. When they saw the newcomers, they were shocked. One of them was Wang Tao and the other was an inner sect disciple, a heaven immortal expert who could fly. The newcomer wasn't Feng Hao, but an early heaven immortal expert. Everyone knew him. His name was Liang Hong, a follower of Feng Hao. His appearance should be sent by Feng Hao. But it was reasonable. Given Feng Hao's status, he naturally wouldn't make things difficult for an outer sect disciple. In everyone's opinion, an early heaven immortal expert should be enough to suppress Jiang Chen. Greetings, Senior Brother Liang. Many outer sect disciples came forward and clasped their fists. They wouldn't dare to show any neglect in the face of a heaven immortal inner sect disciple. And where's that Jiang Chen? Liang Hong asked. He had already heard about what happened here. Naturally, he had also heard about Jiang Chen. Today, he would like to meet Jiang Chen. He really wanted to see what kind of person this Jiang Chen was. That guy must be in the dormitory area. Someone said. Let's go. Bring me there. Chapter 1158. Following behind Liang Hong, many outer sect disciples saw hope. After all, Liang Hong was a true heaven immortal expert and a respected inner sect disciple. No matter how arrogant Jiang Chen was, he would have to restrain himself in front of Liang Hong. To everyone's surprise, Jiang Chen was still sitting in the square of the dormitory area with his legs crossed, basking in the sun leisurely. Looking at him like this, all the other outer circle disciples had the urge to vomit blood. This was too shameless. Their days here were about to end, but Jiang Chen was still leisurely basking in the sun. They were all outer circle disciples, but why was there such a huge gap between them? Brother Liang, he is Jiang Chen. Wang Tao pointed his finger at Jiang Chen and said fiercely. Sure enough, arrogant. Liang Hong snorted coldly. This guy, who was lying on the rattan chair and pretending to sleep, was really arrogant. He dared to ignore Liang Hong's existence, which meant that he didn't put Liang Hong in his eyes at all. As a noble inner sect disciple, how could Liang Hong accept this? Liang Hong strode to the front of Jiang Chen and shouted at Jiang Chen. Get down here. De Huang. Who is balking here? Hurry up and clean him up. He's having a sweet dream. Jiang Chen didn't even raise his head or open his eyes as he spoke in a strange tone. Hearing this, Liang Hong's face turned extremely ugly. He was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. This was the first time he met such an arrogant outer sect disciple. All along, no matter how powerful an outer sect disciple was, he or she would have to be respectful to an inner sect disciple. De Huang dog wagged his tail and swaggered to the front of Liang Hong and said disdainfully, Bastard, what are you shouting here for? Is this your home turf? Don't you know that barking here is very immoral to disturb people's sleep? As an inner sect disciple, you don't even have the least bit of respect. Can't you have a bottom line? Ugh. Everyone was stunned. Then they all spurted out blood. Motherfucker. This guy just said one sentence and this dog even used his bottom line. How could he be so shameless? Also, what is this dog? How could a dog be so arrogant? A dog dared to look down on an inner disciple of Tianyun Pavilion. What did he think an inner disciple was? Could it be that master-like dog? Liang Hong's face was flushed red. He could feel his anger rising. He couldn't bear it anymore. He wanted to suppress Jiang Chen, but he didn't expect that Jiang Chen didn't even put him in his eyes. Jiang Chen was so arrogant that he didn't even get down from the rattan chair and sent a dog to humiliate him. That's right. It was a humiliation. He was a dignified inner sect disciple, a heaven immortal expert, but he was humiliated by a dog. How was he supposed to live? Damn it, even a dog is so arrogant. Who does it think we are? Damn it! This damned dog actually dares to humiliate senior brother Liang. He's simply courting death. Kill him and skin him. We'll eat dog meat today. Countless outer sect disciples gritted their teeth, seemingly ready to skin De Huang dog alive, but De Huang dog didn't care at all. That arrogant look of his was exactly the same as Jiang Chen. Humph. Sure enough, you're arrogant. Jiang Chen, I heard that you were able to escape from a late heaven immortal expert, but I don't know how strong you are. Your actions have aroused public anger. You have damaged the interests of the entire outer sect and have become the target of public criticism. If you apologize and compensate us now, you might still have a chance. Liang Hong harumphed coldly. How can you be so shameless? I've already told you not to disturb people's sleep. You are a dignified inner sect disciple. Don't you have any public morality? De Huang dog continued. Hong. Liang Hong finally couldn't stand it anymore. Being reprimanded by a dog, no matter how well-mannered a man was, he wouldn't be able to stand it. You're courting death. I'll skin you alive first. Liang Hong was infuriated. The immortal force in his body burst out. Suddenly, he reached out a huge palm. The palm shone brightly like a huge cage, enveloping De Huang dog. Ayo! How dare you attack Master Dog? Looks like you're tired of living. De Huang dog widened his eyes, and charged forward with his head. Seeing that De Huang dog actually used his head to collide with his palm, Liang Hong's face revealed a trace of a sneer, looking at De Huang dog as if he was looking at an idiot. This dog was indeed barbaric and ridiculous, using such a suicidal method to collide with him. Liang Hong was almost sure that De Huang dog's head would immediately burst into pieces. Unfortunately, he hadn't witnessed the power of De Huang dog's head, otherwise he wouldn't have such a funny thought. Bang! Liang Hong's huge palm smashed onto De Huang dog's head, but it was directly smashed into pieces. De Huang dog's speed didn't decrease at all. Carrying a powerful force, it hit Liang Hong's chest in the blink of an eye. Arg! Kacha! Accompanied by a scream, Liang Hong's entire body was directly sent flying, landing heavily tens of feet away. Blood spurted out from his mouth, and after wriggling a few times, he completely fainted, lying there motionless. Many of the outer sect disciples heard the sound of bones breaking, and when they looked at Liang Hong again, there was indeed a huge dent in his chest. And this was because De Huang dog showed mercy. Otherwise, Liang Hong's entire body would have been pierced through. De Huang dog's head was a true divine weapon, an existence that could directly fight against an immortal weapon. Liang Hong's current cultivation base was also at the early heaven immortal realm, so it was impossible for him to find an opponent at the same level as him. What? Looking at the fainted Liang Hong on the ground, Countless exclamations were heard. Everyone's jaws dropped, and they couldn't help but re-evaluate this dog. Liang Hong was a mighty heaven immortal expert, but he was sent flying by a dog. Motherfucker, was this not a joke? What are you looking at? Do you want to have a taste of Master Dog's power? De Huang Dog's majestic words made all the outer sect disciples leave hastily. Wang Tao carried Liang Hong's body and left quickly. That dog was just too ferocious as Jiang Chen. If they continued to stay here, they wouldn't know what would happen to them. Outside the square, countless outer sect disciples had gathered together, their faces covered with dirt. Liang Hong, who had fainted, hadn't woken up yet. After being hit by De Huang Dog, if he didn't have any medicinal pills, it would be normal for him to be unconscious for half a month. Why is that dog so terrifying? I think the reason why Jiang Chen is so arrogant is most likely because of that dog. Senior Brother Wang, what should we do now? Even Senior Brother Liang of the inner sect couldn't suppress Jiang Chen. We really don't know what to do. That's right. This bastard is too arrogant. With him around, we won't be able to live a good life. Chapter 1159. I'll go to the inner sect again and see if Senior Brother Feng Hao can suppress him. Wang Tao gritted his teeth and decided to carry Liang Hong's body to the inner sect to look for Feng Hao. In his point of view, Feng Hao was a powerful intermediate heaven immortal expert. If Feng Hao could take action, he would definitely be able to suppress Jiang Chen. If Feng Hao didn't take action, there was nothing they could do. Inner sect. In a quiet courtyard, a man in white robes who looked to be in his 20s stood there. His face was fair and clear, and his eyes were bright. At this moment, his gaze fell upon Liang Hong, who was lying motionless on the ground, and he frowned. Wang Tao, are you sure that dog only has its head to hit Liang Hong to this state? Feng Hao asked. Yes. Senior Brother Feng. We didn't expect that dog to be so powerful. It's even scarier than Jiang Chen. Plus, both Jiang Chen and that damned dog were incomparably arrogant. They didn't put us in their eyes at all. They are simply lawless. They don't put anyone in their eyes. They really think that they are the local tyrants of the outer sect. Wang Tao's words were full of complaints, but he had to admit the power of Jiang Chen and De Huang Dog. He told them everything that happened without hiding anything. What a powerful dog. Judging from Liang Hong's injuries, that dog has shown mercy. I'm afraid that dog's combat strength is on par with mine. Feng Hao said. One could tell how powerful an expert was from his injuries. This was what surprised Feng Hao the most. Liang Hong had been following him ever since he entered the inner sect. Feng Hao knew very well how powerful he was. Even so, he still couldn't withstand a single strike from De Huang Dog. Feng Hao knew that he might not be a match for De Huang Dog, even if he personally attacked Liang Hong. That can't be true. No matter how strong that dog is, he can't be a match for Senior Disciple Feng, can he? I hope Senior Disciple Feng can teach Jiang Chen and that dog a lesson, and seek justice for the outer circle. If that's the case, Senior Disciple Feng will be able to establish a great reputation in the outer circle, and we will join hands to give you some benefits. Wang Tao said in a pleading tone. He had no other choice. It had been 3 days since Jiang Chen had entered the outer sect. Everyone in the outer sect was in a state of panic. No one could cultivate. There were complaints everywhere. It could be said that the heavens were angry and the people were resentful. Wang Tao, I can't do anything about this. Feng Hao shook his head. What? Wang Tao looked at Feng Hao in surprise. If Feng Hao didn't do anything, would he allow Jiang Chen to do whatever he wanted? Could it be that even Feng Hao was afraid of Jiang Chen? It's not that I'm afraid of Jiang Chen. There are 2 reasons why I can't do anything. First, I have a rough idea of that dog's strength. Even if I personally take action, I may not be a match for him. To put it bluntly, if I'm unlucky enough to lose to a dog, I can't afford to lose my face. Even if I win, it won't be something to be proud of. Second, I have already investigated. Jiang Chen was personally introduced into Tianyun Pavilion by Fu Hui. Fu Hui's connections in the inner sect are pretty good. I don't want to make things difficult for Fu Hui. Feng Hao said. These 2 reasons weren't fake at all. Especially the first one. If he took action, he had to ensure his victory. Once he failed, he would lose a lot of face and become the laughingstock of the inner sect. Even if he won, it wouldn't be something to be proud of. After all, He was an intermediate heaven immortal inner sect genius. Plus, Jiang Chen was personally introduced into the pavilion by Fu Hui. Feng Hao didn't want to make things difficult for Fu Hui. Therefore, no matter from which angle, Feng Hao had a reason not to take action. AI. If even senior brother Feng isn't willing to take action, our outer sect will really become the world of Jiang Chen. Wang Tao couldn't help but sigh. He wasn't a fool. He understood Feng Hao's concern. After all, whether it was Jiang Chen or that dog, both of them were too powerful. If he was in Feng Hao's shoes, he wouldn't act rashly without absolute confidence. Furthermore, it wouldn't be good for an inner sect disciple, an intermediate heaven immortal expert, to find trouble with an outer sect disciple, let alone a late heaven immortal expert. All of these geniuses were working hard to break through to a higher realm, so how could they have the time to care about the matters of the outer sect? As a matter of fact, even if Jiang Chen became the local tyrant of the outer sect, it wouldn't be a problem as long as it didn't harm the cultivation of the outer sect disciples. But the current situation was that Jiang Chen was too overbearing. He alone had monopolized all the cultivation resources, leaving no chance for the other outer sect disciples to survive. If this continued, the outer sect disciples wouldn't be able to live a peaceful life. Although I can't take action, I can give you an idea, Feng Hao said with a smile. What idea? Wang Tao's expression changed. This matter isn't something we inner sect disciples can meddle in. If Jiang Chen was an inner sect disciple and acted so arrogantly, there would naturally be countless people who would teach him a lesson. Unfortunately, he's an outer sect disciple now. It would be beneath our status to deal with him. The one who can help you suppress him is the Institute of Elders. No matter how arrogant Jiang Chen is, he wouldn't dare to offend the Institute of Elders. You should know that there are late heaven immortal experts in the Institute of Elders. You can go to the Institute of Elders to lodge a complaint against Jiang Chen, and let the Institute of Elders uphold justice for you. Feng Hao said. We have gone to the Institute of Elders before, but they didn't care at all. Senior brother Feng, you should know that the Institute of Elders doesn't care about the fights between disciples. Although Jiang Chen has gone overboard, he didn't do anything wrong by absorbing the immortal qi in the martial palace. Wang Tao shook his head. That was in the past. Now that Jiang Chen has become more and more arrogant, the Institute of Elders has no choice but to intervene. You can send a large number of people to the Institute of Elders every day, constantly pressuring the Institute of Elders. The Institute of Elders will naturally help you. As the outer sect elders, if they allow the outer sect to be in a mess, they won't be able to answer to their superiors. Feng Hao said. Wang Tao thought for a moment and nodded. It seems like that's the only way. I'll take my leave first. Wang Tao bid farewell to Feng Hao and returned to the outer sect. This time, he was going to gather a large number of outer sect disciples to lodge a complaint against Jiang Chen. Just like what Feng Hao said, the Institute of Elders was the only one who could help them at this time. That afternoon, hundreds and thousands of outer sect disciples gathered at the entrance of the Institute of Elders, blocking the entrance. The Institute of Elders was the supreme existence in the sect. No one dared to disrespect the Institute of Elders. This was the first time in the history of Tianyun Pavilion that a large number of disciples had besieged the entrance of the Institute of Elders. Chapter 1160. In the dormitory area, there were only two people, Jiang Chen and a Huang dog. All the other outer sect disciples had gathered at the Institute of Elders. Everyone was doing this for their own benefit. As for Jiang Chen and a Huang dog, they were the public enemy of the people. Brat, those outer sect disciples have gone to the Institute of Elders to complain about you. De Huang dog said with a smile. And this is the result I want. Just wait and see. Wait for the Institute of Elders to summon me. Jiang Chen had a relaxed look on his face. If these people didn't go to the Institute of Elders to complain about him, then wouldn't his efforts in the past 3 days be in vain? Jie, you brat, you're really insidious, but I like it. De Huang dog laughed evilly. He liked Jiang Chen's wisdom. Jiang Chen was a cunning old fox that others couldn't even catch up to. In front of the gate of the Institute of Elders, hundreds and thousands of outer sect disciples had gathered together. It was inevitable that there would be some chaos. These outer sect disciples were gnashing their teeth in anger. That was a kind of hatred towards Jiang Chen. There was no way they wouldn't hate Jiang Chen. This was too abominable. A good outer sect was turned into such a state by Jiang Chen. Even senior brother Fong Hao won't help us. We can only rely on ourselves. The Institute of Elders must give us an explanation. Otherwise, we will continue to cause trouble here. That's right. That Jiang Chen has gone mad. If the Institute of Elders doesn't come forward to solve this problem, we won't be able to cultivate in the future. Damn it. This is too abominable. We must let Jiang Chen receive the punishment he deserves. He must pay the price. The heavens were angered and the people were resentful. All the resentment had gone out of control. Tianyun Pavilion had been established for so long, but there had never been such an insane person. Creak. The gate of the Institute of Elders was opened. 3 elders walked out from inside. All of them were early heaven immortal elders. The leader was Niu Mang. Why aren't you cultivating? What are you doing here? Niu Mang shouted. There was some anger in his tone. These people's actions were already very disrespectful to the Elder Council. If it were not for the fact that there were so many people involved, he might have directly punished them. Cultivate? What's there to cultivate for? There isn't even a place to cultivate. We want to cultivate, but you can find a place for us. Elder Niu, that Jiang Chen has lost his mind. He has already absorbed all the immortal qi in the Light Martial Palace for 3 consecutive days, depriving us of our right to cultivate. I beg the Elder Council to give us justice. Elder, please suppress Jiang Chen, punish him, and seek justice for us. The Martial Arts Hall is a public cultivation ground, and it doesn't belong to Jiang Chen alone. That's right, Elder. We can't live like this anymore. That Jiang Chen is very powerful. We can't defeat him. Many people have already been injured by him. Even the inner sect disciples are no match for him. That dog beside him is even more powerful. We can't afford to offend him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come to the Institute of Elders. I beg the Elder Council to give us justice. I beg the Elder Council to punish this evil thief severely. We must punish Jiang Chen and return peace to our outer sect. The crowd was stirred up. All the outer sect disciples were extremely emotional. Some of the disciples who had been beaten up by Jiang Chen had even burst into tears when they talked about their sorrows. The scene was so spectacular that it shocked the 3 elders. The Institute of Elders had been in charge of the outer sect for so long, but such a thing had never happened before. AI. Geniuses don't act according to common sense. It seems that our Tianyun Pavilion has another devil incarnate. One of the elders couldn't help but sigh. It seems that our Institute of Elders has to step in. Otherwise, the outer sect will be in a mess. I would like to see what kind of person this Jiang Chen is. He is so ruthless in his actions. I will go and find that Jiang Chen. One of the elders said. Let me go. I have seen him before. His identity jade token was personally made by me. Niu Mang said. Previously, Wang Tao and the others had come to the Institute of Elders to look for him. In his opinion, it was just a competition between the disciples. He didn't take it to heart at all. He didn't expect that Jiang Chen wouldn't restrain himself at all and cause such a commotion. All right, all of you can go back first. I will go and find Jiang Chen in a while. I believe he will give me face. Niu Mang waved his hand at the crowd and then walked toward the outer sect's dormitory area. Seeing that the elders of the Institute of Elders had stepped in, the outer sect disciples finally calmed down a bit. They seemed to have seen a glimmer of hope. As far as they could tell, no matter how arrogant Jiang Chen was, he would have to give face to the Institute of Elders. In the outer sect, no matter how powerful a disciple was, he wouldn't have the courage to go against the Institute of Elders. In the plaza of the dormitory area, Jiang Chen was still sitting calmly on the rattan chair with a dog lying next to him. It seemed that apart from taking a nap, the man and the dog had nothing else to do. Niu Mang walked over with a smile when he saw Jiang Chen and a Huang dog. Niu Mang's eyes lingered on the Huang dog for a moment. When they first met, Niu Mang didn't pay much attention to this dog. He thought that this dog was just an average pet of Jiang Chen's. Little did he know that this dog could be so powerful that not even Liang Hong could survive one move from it. Naturally, Niu Mang didn't dare to put on airs in front of this dog. It should be noted that Niu Mang himself was no match for Liang Hong, let alone the Huang dog. Jiang Chen. Niu Mang called out. Jiang Chen stood up from the rattan chair and cupped his fists at Niu Mang. Oh, it's Elder Niu. I don't know what brings you here. Hee, Jiang Chen, we're all smart people. I think you already know why I'm here. These days, because of you, the outer sect has been in a mess. If this continues, the Institute of Elders will lose face. I hope you can give the Institute of Elders some face and restrain yourself. Jiang Chen said with a smile. Niumang went straight to the point. As he said, they were all smart people. There was no point in beating around the bush. Elder Niu, I'm just cultivating normally. I don't think I'm breaking any rules. Besides, they took the initiative to trouble me. I haven't gone to the Elders' Hall to complain yet. Jiang Chen said with a wronged expression. Jiang Chen, I know you. But the situation is special. Your ability to absorb divine energy is too strong. It has seriously affected the peace of the outer gate. I hope you can restrain yourself. If you become the target of public criticism, it won't be good for you, Niumang said earnestly. A genius like Jiang Chen was destined to achieve immeasurable achievements in the future. Niumang was just an insignificant elder of the outer gate. It was better for him not to offend Jiang Chen for no reason. Yes, I will consider Elder Niu's words carefully. All right, I know why you're here. Chapter 1161. Sigh. Niumang let out a sigh and turned around. He didn't feel anything about Jiang Chen's arrogance. Geniuses were always arrogant. As an elder of the outer sect, he had seen too many arrogant geniuses. Jiang Chen had already given him a lot of face. Niumang might be a member of the Outer Sect Elders Institute, but he wasn't qualified to represent the Elders Institute. Why didn't you state your conditions directly to that old man? De Huang Dog asked puzzledly. What's the use of that? Can Niumang make a decision on behalf of the Elders Institute? I have to wait for the real decision-maker to come to me. Jiang Chen smiled casually. He was very clear about Niumang's status in the Elders Institute. There was no difference between him and Niumang. Jiang Chen wanted to enter the inner sect through the iron dummy array, which wasn't something that Niumang could decide. Therefore, Jiang Chen didn't state his conditions and didn't even bother to say anything to Niumang. After Niumang went back, he told those outer sect disciples that Jiang Chen had promised to restrain himself and asked them to cultivate peacefully. Such an answer didn't satisfy those outer sect disciples. After all, in their opinion, Jiang Chen needed to be punished. But geniuses always had certain advantages, which they knew very well. Besides, as long as Jiang Chen didn't absorb all the immortal qi in the martial arts hall and didn't affect their cultivation, they didn't mind letting Jiang Chen be the local tyrant of the outer sect. At worst, they wouldn't provoke him in the future. Even if they couldn't afford to provoke him, they could at least hide from him. However, things didn't go as smoothly as they imagined. It turned out that Niumang didn't have that much influence. The next day, when a large number of outer sect disciples rushed to the martial arts hall excitedly, the same thing happened again. Many of them had already wasted 3 days. They thought that they must cultivate well today to make up for the previous delay. They didn't expect to suffer another merciless blow. Arg! This damn bastard. He absorbed all the immortal qi again. Is he going to let us live? Lawless, truly lawless. Does he really think that the outer sect belongs to him? He doesn't even give face to the elder. What should we do? This person has completely lost his mind and acted without the slightest scruple. He robbed us of all our cultivation resources. The outer sect was once again thrown into chaos. Many of them had the urge to go crazy. Some of them wanted nothing more than to find Jiang Chen and tear him into 1,000 pieces. But fortunately, their remaining rationality prevented them from doing so. Otherwise, they could already imagine the consequences. They had no choice but to block the entrance of the Elders' Council again. Apart from relying on the Elders' Council, they had no one else to rely on. Unfortunately, the Elders clearly didn't want to care about such matters, and the main gate didn't open. For the next 3 days, Jiang Chen became even more aggressive. Every day, he would be the first to go to the martial arts hall and absorb all the immortal qi, leaving nothing for the other outer sect disciples. His actions had finally infuriated all the outer sect disciples. The outer sect was in chaos, complete chaos. Curses could be heard everywhere, and a large number of outer sect disciples surrounded the elder's courtyard. Elder, please save us. Give us justice and chase away that vampire. I beg the Elders' Council to return justice to the outer sect. Chase Jiang Chen away. We can't live anymore. We can't live anymore. If the Elders' Council doesn't do anything, we will commit suicide in front of the Elders' courtyard. Yes, mass suicide. I have my saber ready. I want to be the first to mutilate myself. Crazy. The outer sect was going crazy. Inside the Elders' Council, more than 20 elders had gathered together. This was the gathering of all the elders. To the outer sect's council of elders, they might not be able to gather together even once a year. But this time, they were all gathered in an orderly manner. They could hear the clamor of the disciples outside clearly. All of them frowned and felt an incomparable headache. They had ruled the outer sect for so long, but they had never encountered such a thorny problem before. What's wrong with that Jiang Chen? Why doesn't he know how to appreciate kindness? Isn't he deliberately stirring up chaos in the outer sect? An elder in a loose robe said with extreme dissatisfaction. He was sitting at the seat of honor and had the highest cultivation base. He had already reached the peak of late heaven immortal realm, only a step away from advancing to the half-step divine immortal realm. He was the great elder of the outer sect, Yuan Kuei. He was in charge of the entire elders' courtyard. Given his identity, he had the right to speak even in the inner sect. As the leader of the outer sect, Yuan Kuei wouldn't usually come out to manage the outer sect's affairs. But this time, even he, the great elder, was alarmed. This showed how serious the matter of Jiang Chen had become. Great elder, this matter has to be resolved. Otherwise, I'm afraid that the chaos in the outer sect will alert the higher-ups. That's right, great elder. That Jiang Chen's way of doing things is a little too arrogant. Even if he is a genius, he should at least restrain himself. Now that he has made the entire outer sect angry, if we can't resolve this quickly, the elders' courtyard's reputation will be tarnished. The elders of the Institute of Elders also felt that this matter had to be resolved. Otherwise, the chaos would only get bigger and bigger. It wouldn't take long before the higher-ups were alerted. Elder Niumang, go and call Jiang Chen over. I want to see if the genius who destroyed a mine in Shenyang School really has 3 heads and 6 arms. Yuan Kuei said to Niumang. At this time, he had to meet this legendary genius. Yes, great elder. Niumang clasped his fists at Yuan Kuei and walked out of the Institute of Elders. As soon as he stepped out of the gate, he was immediately surrounded by countless outer sect disciples. Don't panic. This time, the great elder has personally come out to resolve your matter. I will go and bring Jiang Chen here now. Niumang said loudly, then flew towards the direction of the dormitory area. All right, this time, the great elder has come out personally. I'm sure he will be able to help us solve this problem. We must resolve this matter today. Otherwise, we will block the gate of the Institute of Elders and not leave. That's right. If this matter isn't resolved, we won't be able to stay in the outer sect anymore. The crowd was still excited, but the Grand Elder personally coming forward made them feel much more at ease in their hearts. In the outer court, the Grand Elder's reputation was still extremely high, and no matter how amazing a genius was, they wouldn't dare not give the Grand Elder face, unless they didn't want to live in the outer court anymore. Chapter 1162. Greetings to Elder Niu. Before Niumang could say anything, Jiang Chen cupped his fists and greeted first. Jiang Chen, I've reminded you before to restrain yourself, but you've become even worse. Now, the outer sect is in a mess. All of the outer sect disciples are blocking the entrance of the Institute of Elders. This has never happened before. Your matter has already alerted the Great Elder. Now, the Great Elder wants you to go to him. Jiang Chen said with a smile. Niumang spoke. All right, Elder Niu, please lead the way. Jiang Chen smiled and said. His reaction surprised Niumang. He thought that Jiang Chen would show a trace of fear or dread when he heard that the Grand Elder was alarmed. He didn't expect this guy to not only not worry, but also reveal a trace of joy on his face. Niumang couldn't help but sigh in his heart. The mentality of this prodigy was really hard to grasp. Outside of the Elder's chamber, Jiang Chen arrived with Niumang. This time, he didn't bring De Huang dog. After all, not every place allowed a dog to come in. When those outer sect disciples saw Jiang Chen's arrival, each of their faces revealed a happy expression. In their opinion, since the Grand Elder came personally, he must be going to punish Jiang Chen. Looking at Jiang Chen and Niumang entering the Elder's chamber, there were people who gritted their teeth and said, "We must punish him well, or else we won't be able to dispel the hatred in our hearts." That's right. Because of this guy, We have lost a few days of cultivation. If we don't punish him, it will be unreasonable. What punishment? Logically speaking, Jiang Chen didn't do anything wrong, and absorbing the immortal energy in the Wu Hall isn't against the rules. I don't expect Jiang Chen to receive any severe punishment. As long as he doesn't go to the martial arts hall to create trouble, I will be satisfied. In terms of hatred, there was not a single outer sect disciple present who did not hate Jiang Chen. After all, such a big thing had never happened in the outer sect. Jiang Chen had affected their normal cultivation, so they naturally hated him. However, there were also some sensible people in the outer sect. Although they had come to the elders' hall to complain about Jiang Chen, they knew that Jiang Chen had not done anything wrong. It could be said that he had been cultivating normally, but because he had been cultivating too vigorously, it was not his fault. Jiang Chen strode into the elders' court. Looking at the over 20 heavenly immortal elders seated in the great hall, Jiang Chen's expression did not change at all. Looks like the outer sect still has some foundation. They actually have a late heaven immortal elder. Jiang Chen thought in his heart. The higher the cultivation of the Grand Elder, the happier he was, because the higher the cultivation, the greater the authority he had. All the eyes of the elders fell on Jiang Chen the moment he entered the great hall. They had long heard of Jiang Chen's name. They all wanted to see what the guy who dared to destroy the mine of Shenyang School looked like. Shock could be seen in the eyes of these elders. Anyone who saw Jiang Chen for the first time would be shocked, because he looked too young, and he had a delicate and kind face. Just by looking at his appearance, it was really hard to associate him with that ferocious and evil man. I didn't expect him to be such a young genius. Plus, he didn't show any signs of nervousness in front of so many elders. His temperament is very rare. He's indeed a dragon among men. Such a figure will have limitless achievements in the future. It's just that he doesn't know how to conduct himself. He has offended the entire outer sect as soon as he arrived at Tianyun Pavilion. AI. It's really rare for a young man to have such a temperament. One should know that this is the elders' court. Ordinary outer sect disciples would be agitated when they come here. This was the first impression that the elders had of Jiang Chen. It could be said that it was pretty good. After all, being in the elders' court, they also liked the appearance of geniuses in the outer sect. When a powerful genius appeared in the outer sect, they would also feel proud. In their point of view, it was really rare for Jiang Chen to remain calm in front of so many heaven immortal elders. As a matter of fact, these people couldn't make Jiang Chen nervous, because if a fight really broke out, all of these elders combined wouldn't be a match for Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen, this is the Grand Elder, Yuan Kuei. Niu Ben introduced in a low voice. Greetings, Grand Elder. May I know why Grand Elder called me here? Jiang Chen clasped his fists at the Grand Elder and said seriously. What is it for? This bastard was still playing dumb at this time. Jiang Chen, I can see that you are a smart man. I'm sure you know why I've asked you to come here. You're just a new disciple, but you've offended the entire outer sect the moment you arrived. Even we, the old men, are worried about you. What do you think we should do about this matter? Yuan Kuei pretended to be cold and said Lang Lang. In front of a disciple, he, the Grand Elder, had to show some imposing manner. Disciple doesn't understand what Grand Elder means. Disciple doesn't want the outer sect to be in a mess. Disciple has always been dutiful since I entered the Tianyun Pavilion. It's just that because of the special cultivation technique I cultivate, I need a huge amount of immortal chi for every cultivation. The immortal chi in the martial arts hall isn't enough for me to absorb. But you can't blame me. As for beating those outer sect disciples, the heavens can bear witness that they attacked me first. I was just defending myself. This isn't my fault, right? I can't just stand there and let them hit me. Jiang Chen said with a wronged expression. The elders' court was a reasonable place, and Jiang Chen had this reason. That was why he acted so unscrupulously. All the elders were shocked and stunned on the spot after hearing such words. They deeply felt how shameless this guy was, but they couldn't refute Jiang Chen's words. Jiang Chen wasn't wrong at all. Was it his fault for absorbing immortal chi? No. Was it wrong for him to defend himself? Not at all. Since that was the case, what reason was there to punish Jiang Chen? There didn't seem to be any reason. Could it be that they had to restrict Jiang Chen from entering the martial arts hall to cultivate? That would be too unfair. In the history of the Tianyun Pavilion, there had never been a situation where disciples were prohibited from entering the martial arts hall to cultivate. If even cultivation was restricted, then why would disciples come to the Tianyun Pavilion? What a headache! What a headache! How could there be such a weirdo in the outer sect? Jiang Chen didn't care about the punishment, but if they didn't restrict Jiang Chen, how were they going to deal with those outer sect disciples outside? Chapter 1163. Looking at these elders who were frowning in front of him, Jiang Chen's heart was blooming with joy. Everything was going according to his plan. This ending was what he wanted the most, and it was also one of his goals. Jiang Chen, you are not in the wrong in this matter, but it is a fact that the outer sect is in such a mess because of you. This elder thinks that you better not go to the martial arts hall to cultivate in the future, and return peace and tranquility to the outer sect. Yuan Kuei pondered for a moment and made a decision. The outer sect was in a mess now, and it had to be resolved as soon as possible. In order to resolve the root of this mess, it had to start with Jiang Chen. The only solution was to stop Jiang Chen from entering the martial arts hall to cultivate. There was no other way. It had to be said that the elders present were all shocked by Jiang Chen's ability to absorb all the immortal energy in the entire martial arts hall in a short period of time. They couldn't imagine how Jiang Chen did it, but they also knew that there were always some geniuses in this world who couldn't be judged by common sense. Geniuses always had their own trump cards and methods. I can choose not to go to the martial arts hall, but Grand Elder, please find a place for this disciple to cultivate. Jiang Chen spoke in a calm tone, without any intention of contradicting the Grand Elder. What he said was also reasonable. You don't want me to go to the martial arts hall to cultivate, but you have to find a place for me to cultivate, right? This request didn't seem to be excessive at all, and it was a matter of course. After hearing Jiang Chen's words, Grand Elder Yuan Kuei and the other elders looked at each other and finally shook their heads helplessly. What a joke! The immortal energy in the martial arts hall was the densest in the outer sect, and it wasn't enough for Jiang Chen to absorb. Where else could they find a place for him to cultivate? However, if he didn't find a place for Jiang Chen to cultivate, then Jiang Chen definitely wouldn't do it. Depriving Jiang Chen of his cultivation for others' cultivation was no different from Jiang Chen depriving other outer sect disciples of their cultivation. Moreover, all the elders present understood that a monstrous genius like Jiang Chen had a truly boundless future. As outer sect elders, they were very clear about their own status. Even the most honorable great elder, Yuan Kuei, was not willing to offend a genius like Jiang Chen for no reason. But where could he find a place for Jiang Chen to cultivate? For a monster like Jiang Chen, only the inner sect's martial arts hall could accommodate him. I see that the elders are having a hard time dealing with this matter. Disciple has a way to ensure peace in the outer sect. Seeing that the time was right, Jiang Chen said with a smile, "Oh, if you have a method, tell me about it." Yuan Kuei looked at Jiang Chen curiously. It's very simple. Let me challenge the iron dummy array. As long as I enter the inner sect, the outer sect will naturally be peaceful. In this way, it won't affect the cultivation of other outer sect disciples and it won't affect my cultivation. It can be said to be the best of both worlds. I think all the elders should be very clear that with my current strength, the outer sect will not be able to accommodate me. Although my cultivation is still at the Earth Immortal realm, I already have the combat strength of a Heaven Immortal. Jiang Chen said. In fact, what he did before was to create the conditions for him to create the iron dummy array. Otherwise, with the rules of Tianyun Pavilion, it would be impossible for him to challenge the iron dummy array. This won't do. You have just arrived at Tianyun Pavilion. According to the rules, you are not qualified to challenge the iron dummy array. This is against the rules. That's right. New disciples who have not been here for a year are not qualified to challenge the iron dummy array. This is the rule of Tianyun Pavilion. Jiang Chen, your method won't do. Several elders shook their heads in disapproval. They had thought that Jiang Chen would come up with a good idea. They didn't expect that it would be against the rules. The rules are dead, but people are alive. Moreover, if I am allowed to stay in the outer sanctum for a year, I will definitely go to the martial arts hall every day. Jiang Chen said. Hearing this, many elders couldn't help but roll their eyes. This guy was acting shamelessly. But according to the current situation, if Jiang Chen was allowed to stay in the outer sanctum for a year, the result would be unimaginable. Moreover, they had no reason to prohibit Jiang Chen from entering the martial arts hall to cultivate. All the outer sanctum disciples were qualified to enter the martial arts hall and absorb the immortal qi with their own ability. This was also the rule. If it was against the rules to allow Jiang Chen to challenge the Iron Dummy Array, then it was also against the rules to prohibit Jiang Chen from cultivating in the martial arts hall. Jiang Chen, the Iron Dummy Array is not that easy to challenge. You have just arrived at Tianyun Pavilion and have no idea about the horror of the Iron Dummy Array. Only a few geniuses have succeeded in challenging the Iron Dummy Array. Great Elder said, "This is my own choice." Jiang Chen said in an unusually firm tone. "All right, I will let you challenge the Iron Dummy Array." Great Elder Yuan Kuei thought for a moment and said. Jiang Chen's eyes lit up instantly. He didn't expect the Great Elder to be so strong-willed and agree so easily. This made Jiang Chen's impression of the Great Elder improve a lot in an instant. Great Elder, this is unprecedented. Yes, and the Iron Dummy Array is controlled by the Inner Sanctum Elders. If anyone tries to challenge the Iron Dummy Array, the Inner Sanctum Elders must personally supervise it. The other elders spoke one after another. Jiang Chen snorted coldly in his heart. This group of stubborn old men who didn't know how to be flexible. Such people wouldn't achieve anything no matter where they went. Great Elder Yuan Kuei was a shrewd man. Compared to the trouble that Jiang Chen would bring to the outer sanctum, if Jiang Chen could break through the Iron Dummy Array and enter the inner sanctum, it would be a great thing for both the outer sanctum and the inner sanctum. Sending Jiang Chen away was equivalent to sending away a huge trouble. Yuan Kuei waved his hand, indicating for everyone to keep quiet. He then looked up at Jiang Chen and said, "Jiang Chen, I can let you challenge the Iron Dummy Array. As for the inner sanctum, I will talk to them personally. But you have to agree to one condition of mine." "No problem. If I fail in the Iron Dummy Array, I will never step into the Outer Sanctum Martial Arts Hall in the future. It won't affect the cultivation of the other Outer Sanctum disciples." Jiang Chen was very smart. He knew what Yuan Kuei's condition was before Yuan Kuei said anything. Therefore, he agreed immediately. As for the Iron Dummy Array, although he was curious about it, he didn't really care about it. After all, his combat strength was too strong. If he used the dragon transformation and went all out, it would be easy for him to kill Yuan Kuei. Yuan Kuei looked at Jiang Chen with admiration. It was always a happy thing to talk to smart people. Some things didn't need to be said clearly. "All right, it's good that you agree. Go back and wait. Come to the Elders Institute tomorrow. I will bring you to the inner sanctum to challenge the Iron Dummy Array." Yuan Kuei waved his hand, indicating for Jiang Chen to leave. "Thank you, Great Elder." Chapter 1164. The Institute of Inner Sect Elders. As the Great Elder of the Outer Sect, Yuan Kuei was the only one who could enter the Institute of Inner Sect Elders at will. This was the privilege given to him by the sect. At this moment, Yuan Kuei met with the elders of the inner sect. There was a fundamental difference between the elders of the inner sect and the outer sect. The most obvious difference was the cultivation level. In the Institute of Outer Sect Elders, the lowest cultivation level was Early Heaven Immortal and the highest was Late Heaven Immortal. In the Institute of Inner Sect Elders, the lowest cultivation level was Half-Step Divine Immortal and the highest was the Great Elder, a Late Divine Immortal Supreme Expert. Therefore, Yuan Kuei was a little nervous and excited when he arrived here. After all, the gap in cultivation level would make people lack confidence. The few inner sect elders in front of him were all divine immortal experts, which was much higher than him. The Great Elder Li Zhong was also here. His cultivation level was at the terrifying late divine immortal realm. At this level, even in Tianyun Pavilion, he had a certain status and countless people had to respect him. "Great Elder, if we really allow Jiang Chen to challenge the Iron Dummy Array, he will be breaking the rules." But even Yuan Kuei has come here in person. It seems that the outer sect is at a loss on how to deal with this Jiang Chen. Is this Jiang Chen really that scary? If he really is a peerless genius, Tianyun Pavilion can nurture him well. It's not a big deal to make an exception for him. I just don't know if he has the ability to get through the Iron Dummy Array. This man's reputation was raised because of the order to kill in Shenyang School, but we don't know what his real ability is. After listening to Yuan Kuei's introduction, a few of the inner sect elders were slightly surprised. All of them had been in Skycloud Pavilion for a long time. They had seen plenty of geniuses in Skycloud Pavilion, but none of them had ever seen someone like Jiang Chen. He was just a new outer sect disciple, but the Institute of Outer Sect Elders was at a loss of what to do. "All right, Then we will make an exception for him. If he can really pass the iron dummy array, the sect will definitely nurture him well. If he can't, then it means that he is just a proud and arrogant person. He is just a superficial braggart and doesn't have any real capabilities. When the time comes, he will not be allowed to enter the martial arts hall to cultivate. The great elder of the inner sect, Li Zhong, said. The iron dummy array was under his control. If he said that he could make an exception, then he would. Although Yuan Kuei was only an elder of the outer sect, he had the right to participate in the iron dummy array due to his identity. This was also the reason why he agreed to Jiang Chen's request. All right, then please set a date, elder. Yuan Kuei said. 3 days later. The iron dummy array will be opened in 3 days. This iron dummy array has not been opened for a long time. I also want to see whether this Jiang Chen, who has caused a ruckus in One Line Sky, can break out of the iron dummy array. Li Zhong said with a smile. On the same day, the news that Jiang Chen was going to challenge the iron dummy array spread across the entire Tianyun Pavilion, setting off a huge uproar. In Tianyun Pavilion, every time the iron dummy array was opened, it was a major event. Be it the higher-ups of the sect or the disciples, they were all very concerned about those who had the guts to challenge the iron dummy array. Anyone who could break out of the iron dummy array was a genius among geniuses. Their future would be limitless and they would receive the attention of the higher-ups. In the past, when someone successfully broke out of the iron dummy array, the golden immortal elder of the sect made an exception and made him a true disciple. It could be said that he soared to the sky. Have you heard about it? That Jiang Chen is really daring to challenge the iron dummy array. But this is a great thing for us. If he can succeed, he will enter the inner sect. From then on, our outer sect will be at peace. Finally, this god of plague has been sent away. Moreover, he has reached an agreement with the Grand Elder that if he fails to challenge the iron dummy array, he will never enter the martial arts hall to cultivate and won't affect us anymore. That's right. Such a decision is indeed a great thing for us. At least it has solved the problem of our cultivation. But it is also a miracle that Jiang Chen could make the elders open the iron dummy array for him. Otherwise, what other solutions can there be? That guy is too powerful. The outer sect can't tolerate him. Are we going to let him stay in the outer sect and be a local tyrant? I suddenly feel that the reason why that Jiang Chen unscrupulously absorbed the immortal energy in the martial arts hall and didn't leave any leeway for us was because he wanted to challenge the iron dummy array. He used us as a hostage to make the elders make an exception. What a smart guy. We have all been used by him. Who cares? Anyway, we can't afford to offend Jiang Chen. Isn't it better for us to let him go to the inner sect? When the people in the outer sect heard the news, they were all elated. They had no reason to be unhappy that the god of plague had been sent away. Even if Jiang Chen failed to challenge the iron dummy array, he wouldn't come to the martial arts hall to affect them anymore. At most, they would take a detour when they saw Jiang Chen in the future and not provoke this evil star. For the next 3 days, the name Jiang Chen was being discussed everywhere. Apart from the outer sect, it was the same for the inner sect. A person who had just arrived at the sect for a few days had created such a big incident. How could it not be shocking? Naturally, he would become the topic of discussion among everyone. Interesting. Someone is challenging the iron dummy array again. I have to go and have a look 3 days later. I want to see what this Jiang Chen looks like. He has been very famous recently. What's so great about him? He just came to our Tianyun Pavilion to seek refuge. If Tianyun Pavilion doesn't take him in, he will die in the hands of Shenyang School in a few days. This guy is too arrogant and doesn't know how to restrain himself. He has just arrived here for a few days, but he has already created a foul atmosphere in the outer sect. He even made the elders open the iron dummy array for him. Humph. I don't believe he can really break out of the iron dummy array. Don't underestimate this guy. What if he really succeeds? In that case, he will immediately attract the attention of the upper echelons. Perhaps, there might even be a golden immortal elder who will come out to accept him as a direct disciple. A direct disciple. Don't be ridiculous. Golden immortal elders are very busy. They won't have the time to waste on him. Besides, is it so easy to break out of the iron dummy array? In the past, I also broke out of the iron dummy array and almost died in it. If I wasn't rescued by the elders at the last moment, I would have been torn into pieces by those barbaric puppets without spiritual intelligence. Some people were optimistic about Jiang Chen, but most of them were not optimistic about Jiang Chen. After all, there weren't many people who could successfully break out of the iron dummy array. In addition, Jiang Chen's behavior was too arrogant and domineering after coming to Tianyun Pavilion. Therefore, many people didn't have a good impression of him. Chapter 1165. Brother Jiang, you've really surprised me. Fu Hui sighed. He didn't pay attention to the situation of the outer sect these days. It was only when he heard that Jiang Chen was going to challenge the iron dummy array that he understood what Jiang Chen had done to the outer sect. He was afraid that only Jiang Chen could do something that would be recorded in the history of Tianyun Pavilion. Fu Hui was also very surprised. He had thought highly of Jiang Chen, but now it seemed that he had underestimated Jiang Chen's strength. After all, there weren't many people who could absorb all the immortal qi in the martial arts palace. At least, he had never seen such a person. Jiang Chen was the first one who had done it. I have to find a way to enter the inner sect. If I don't do something, why would the Institute of Elders make an exception for me to challenge the iron dummy array? Jiang Chen shrugged his shoulders. Haha, it seems that you have started to plan after I told you about the iron dummy array. But it's fine now. With your capability, the outer sect indeed can't accommodate you. However, it won't be that easy to challenge the iron dummy array. Brother Jiang, you have to be prepared. Fu Hui reminded. He could already tell that a figure like Jiang Chen was destined to be extraordinary no matter where he went. There's nothing to prepare. Let nature take its course. I also want to see how difficult the legendary iron dummy array is. Jiang Chen's aura fluctuated. Tianyun Pavilion was supported by Ouyang He. Tian Muyun merely stole the fruits of Ouyang He's labor. Jiang Chen had two purposes in coming to Tianyun Pavilion. One was to kill Tian Muyun to avenge Ouyang He, and the other was to help Ouyang He develop Tianyun Pavilion and lead the entire one-line sky. Therefore, Jiang Chen had to make a name for himself in Tianyun Pavilion, step by step, to the top of Tianyun Pavilion, to the top, and to control the whole Tianyun Pavilion in his own hands. This was destined to be an extremely difficult process. After all, Tian Muyun had been in charge of Tianyun Pavilion for 2 years. In addition to his tyrannical cultivation base, extraordinary talent, and accumulation in Tianyun Pavilion over the years, he must have gained a lot of people's trust. To Jiang Chen, these people were obstacles and enemies. Therefore, the seemingly peaceful appearance of Tianyun Pavilion was destined to be disturbed by Jiang Chen's arrival. Of course, this was his biggest secret, and it was impossible for him to tell Fu Hui. I believe that Brother Jiang will be able to break through the iron dummy array and create another miracle. Fu Hui said. The confidence in Jiang Chen's every move would infect him. That kind of confidence was innate and came from his bones. For the next 3 days, Jiang Chen didn't go to the martial arts hall to cultivate. He wasn't interested in the martial arts hall itself. If it wasn't for his own purpose, he wouldn't have competed with the other outer sect disciples for the immortal qi in the martial arts hall. Now that his purpose had been achieved, he had no more interest in the martial arts hall. This situation was undoubtedly a great thing for those outer sect disciples. Without Jiang Chen's disturbance, it was a wonderful thing. They didn't have to worry about not being able to cultivate anymore. 3 days later, a lot of people gathered at the border between the outer sect and the inner sect early in the morning. There was a mountain peak here, and the scenery on the peak was beautiful. There were no other buildings on the peak except for a very ordinary-looking palace. There were 3 big words engraved on the door of the palace: Iron Dummy Array. This was a very important place in the Tianyun Pavilion because those who could come out from here were destined to be the prodigies of the prodigies and the best of the best. It had been a long time since anyone tried the Iron Dummy Array, but every time someone tried it, it would attract a lot of onlookers, especially the outer sect disciples and the inner sect disciples. For the outer sect disciples, once someone passed the Iron Dummy Array, it meant that there would be a powerful figure in the inner sect. People would try to make friends with him. Of course, there would be no shortage of jealous prodigies who would make things difficult for them. In addition, the outer sect elders and the inner sect elders would also appear. The Iron Dummy Array was controlled by them. Even the high-level and powerful elders would observe secretly. After all, it was a good thing for the sect to have a prodigy. They all understood the power of the Iron Dummy Array. As long as someone could pass the Iron Dummy Array, he was destined to be extraordinary. Sometimes, some powerful golden immortal elders would judge the true potential of the challenger based on his performance in the array. If the challenger caught their eye, They might appear in person and accept the challenger as a true disciple. To the challenger, it was undoubtedly a good thing that a pie fell from the sky. From then on, the challenger would soar to the sky. There were already several elders standing in front of the palace gate. Some of them were from the outer sect and the other were from the inner sect. However, Yuan Kuei and Li Zhong hadn't appeared yet. Usually, heavyweights like them would only appear at the critical moment. More and more people gathered around the mountain peak. Many of them wanted to see if Jiang Chen could walk out of the iron dummy array, but according to the previous examples of disciples who had entered the array, there weren't many people who were optimistic about Jiang Chen's chances. Why hasn't that Jiang Chen appeared yet? Isn't he too arrogant to let us wait here? That's right. Don't be afraid to show up at the last moment. That would be a great disgrace. I don't think so. After all, he was the one who proposed the condition. I think Jiang Chen has some means, otherwise, he wouldn't dare to boast like that. Just as everyone was talking about it, a silhouette flew in from the outer sect, instantly attracting everyone's attention. At this time, all eyes fell on the silhouette in the sky. It was a white-robed youth with a pair of flaming wings on his back. It was extremely dazzling, causing countless people to exclaim in admiration and envy. Look, it's Jiang Chen. Sure enough, he can fly. I'm really envious that an Earth immortal can fly. No wonder he has the ability to destroy the mine of Shenyang School and escape from a late heaven immortal expert. It seems like he's not that simple. Earth immortals can't manipulate the spatial airflow. It's rare for them to be able to fly, and the ability to fly is extremely rare. Jiang Chen's flaming wings look extraordinary. It really makes people jealous. Those who exclaimed in admiration were all outer sect disciples. They thought that inner sect disciples were all heaven immortals and could manipulate the spatial airflow to fly. So they weren't envious, but they were still surprised. After all, when they were at Jiang Chen's level, flying was an extravagant hope for them. Chapter 1166. At this point, Jiang Chen had nothing to hide anymore. Plus, it wasn't a secret that he could fly. What happened in Shenyang School had already spread across one-line sky. It was just that he had never displayed the flaming wings in front of outsiders. Now that he was going to challenge the iron dummy array, he naturally had to make it look more magnificent. Swoosh! Jiang Chen retracted the flaming wings and landed right outside the palace. He cupped his fists at the elders and said, "Disciple Jiang Chen greets all the elders." All the elders nodded secretly. Judging from his appearance and demeanor, Jiang Chen was a dragon among men, the kind that ordinary people couldn't compare with. Not long after that, inner sect Great Elder Li Zhong and outer sect Great Elder Yuan Kuei appeared at the same time. Li Zhong's appearance attracted countless respectful gazes. The scene calmed down. Li Zhong was a late divine immortal expert. The pressure that he exuded was unbearable to the Earth immortal outer sect disciples. Li Zhong's eyes fell upon Jiang Chen and said faintly, "Jiang Chen, I have to remind you that all the iron dummies here have gone through special training. They have no spiritual intelligence and are cold-blooded and ruthless. Once you enter the array, you will have to bear a great risk." In the past, there were some arrogant geniuses who entered the iron dummy array, but as a result, they couldn't withstand the pressure and were crippled. Since then, they have never been able to recover. These words were said to warn the disciples who were going to challenge the iron dummy array. But as a matter of fact, those who were determined to challenge the iron dummy array had tried their best and were proud and arrogant. Now that there were so many people watching them, they couldn't back down even if they failed. "I have made up my mind," Jiang Chen said. This was his purpose. There was no reason for him to back down. "All right, take out your identity jade token." Li Zhong stretched out his hand. Jiang Chen turned his palm, took out his identity jade token and handed it over to Li Zhong. Li Zhong took Jiang Chen's identity jade token and walked to the front of the palace. There was a secret compartment at the center of the palace gate. The size of this compartment was exactly the same as the identity jade token. Li Zhong placed Jiang Chen's identity jade token on top of the secret compartment. Crack, crack. The door immediately made a creaking sound and was gradually opened. Perhaps because it had not been opened for a long time, the sound of the door opening was particularly ear-piercing and unpleasant. Jiang Chen's identity jade plate was still on top, emitting a golden light. Remember, you only have 10 seconds, because the puppets will only stop attacking for 10 seconds. If you don't come out, the puppets will continue to attack endlessly. Unless you call for help or your identity jade card goes dim, I will only go in and save you. Of course, if I save you, it will also mean that you have failed in the iron dummy array. Jiang Chen, do you understand what I'm saying? Jiang Chen's eyes were filled with killing intent as he said, Jiang Chen, after the door is opened, you will enter it. The brightness of your identity jade card will represent your situation inside. You only need to stay in there for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, the puppets will stop attacking. Li Zhong told Jiang Chen the rules of challenging the iron dummy array. This disciple understands. Jiang Chen nodded and then walked into the palace without hesitation. He had basically understood the principle of the iron dummy array. The identity jade plate of every outer disciple was the key to open the gate of the iron dummy array. When the identity jade plate was placed in the secret compartment, it would directly connect to the aura inside the array. The golden light on the jade plate represented the basic situation of the disciple inside. If the light was bright, it meant that the disciple was in good condition. If the light dimmed, it meant that the disciple was in danger. After Jiang Chen entered, the gate of the palace was closed again. No one could see the situation inside clearly. The only way to know Jiang Chen's situation was the identity jade plate exposed outside the secret compartment. No one knew whether Jiang Chen could succeed or not, but at least Jiang Chen's current situation was very good. Do you think Jiang Chen can successfully walk out of the iron dummy array? Li Zhong, the great elder of the inner sect, asked with great interest. I think it's very difficult. You should know that there are not many geniuses who can walk out of the array successfully. That's right. We are very clear about the situation inside the iron dummy array. The stronger the challenger is, the stronger the puppets inside will be. The 28 puppets also cooperate with each other quite well. It's very difficult for one to fight against 28 puppets for 10 minutes. Let's not jump to conclusions too early. I think Jiang Chen is extraordinary. Maybe he can really succeed in breaking out of the iron dummy array. In that case, Tianyun Pavilion will have another peerless genius. Many elders were guessing whether Jiang Chen could successfully break out of the iron dummy array. However, most of the elders were not very optimistic about Jiang Chen. After all, the power of the iron dummy array was still there. It was very difficult to succeed. The great elder, Li Zhong, and Yuan Kuei were both smiling. No one knew what they were thinking. Inside the palace, after the door was closed, it was as dark as ink without any color. However, this situation did not affect Jiang Chen in the slightest. With his current cultivation, there was no difference between darkness and daylight. He could see everything in the palace clearly. Huff! There was a cold wind blowing under his feet, which made his heart cold. Jiang Chen could clearly see that the entire palace was filled with black puppets. Each puppet was in the shape of a human, but it was much more majestic than an ordinary person. Each puppet was more than 3 meters tall. There were a total of 28 puppets. They did not breathe or move. They just stood there quietly, which made people think that they were statues. The position of these puppets did not seem to be anything special. However, for a person like Jiang Chen who was proficient in all kinds of formations, it was very different. The 28 puppets were divided into 7 directions. Each direction had 4 puppets standing, surrounding each other in a square formation. What a powerful iron dummy array! These 28 dummies occupy 7 different positions. There are no blind spots in their attacks. Once I fall into the array, they will take turns to attack me. Moreover, because of the array, they have a tacit understanding with each other. At the very least, their cooperation is much better than that of cultivators. I have to study this array and see how I can break it. Jiang Chen's eyes lit up. However, if he wanted to figure out these puppets and the iron dummy array, he had to choose to take the initiative. If he did not take action, he would not get any results. Crack. Chapter 1167. As Jiang Chen entered, the formation began to rotate. As the formation rotated, all the puppets noticed Jiang Chen immediately. The hollow eyes of each puppet looked extremely cold. Although they didn't emit any coldness, it made people feel like they had fallen into an ice cave. The invisible pressure of the 28 puppets fused together. If it was an ordinary person who entered, he or she would be scared to the point of trembling. In terms of aura alone, Jiang Chen had already lost. The result could be imagined. However, Jiang Chen wasn't an ordinary person after all. It was impossible to suppress him with aura or pressure. In Jiang Chen's eyes, these puppets were just killing machines without life. There was nothing to be afraid of. Come on, let me see what's different about you puppets. Jiang Chen's body emitted a strong desire to fight. He wanted to see how these puppets could make him last for less than 10 minutes. Crack! As soon as Jiang Chen's voice fell, a puppet suddenly attacked. The puppet was extremely fast. Almost as soon as it moved, it was already in front of Jiang Chen. The movement of the puppet was simple. It was just a simple punch. However, this punch couldn't be underestimated. It was fast and ruthless. Even with Jiang Chen's reaction speed, he couldn't help but be surprised. So fast. Jiang Chen's eyes trembled. However, he didn't pay too much attention to it. The speed of the puppet was indeed fast. However, compared to him it was still lacking. Jiang Chen clenched his fist and instantly threw a punch. He had never lost in a competition of pure strength. Bang! Two fists collided with each other, creating a large amount of sparks. The sparks lit up a corner of the palace. The puppet had obviously underestimated Jiang Chen's strength. Its majestic body was sent flying by Jiang Chen's punch. The puppet's arm was instantly shattered by Jiang Chen's violence, turning into pieces on the ground. Can't even withstand a single blow. Jiang Chen shook his head. The iron dummy array was said to be magical by the people of Tianyun Pavilion. Now, it seemed that it was just so. If these puppets only had this little strength, Jiang Chen was confident that he could destroy all the puppets in half a minute. However, what happened next made Jiang Chen's jaw drop. The surrounding formation started shaking once again, and the broken pieces on the ground started flying back to the broken arm of the puppet. In an instant, the broken arm was completely fused with the broken arm, and the puppet returned to its original state, without a single scratch on it. No way! Jiang Chen was stunned. He suddenly felt that this iron dummy array was interesting. At least, it was much more magical and powerful than he had imagined. The puppets that were broken could recover with the help of the formation. In other words, these puppets were simply immortal. So any disciple who tried to challenge the iron dummy could never destroy these puppets. The only thing they could do was to hold on for 10 minutes. Huff, huff. The cold wind in the surroundings became more and more intense. This was the result of the rapid operation of the formation. With the operation of the formation, Jiang Chen could clearly feel that the cold aura coming from the puppets was getting stronger. In other words, the strength of these puppets was getting stronger very quickly. I understand now. The puppets inside the iron dummy array will adjust their strength according to the strength of the person who comes in. This is the terrifying part. That puppet just now was just a tentative attack. To put it bluntly, it was just testing my strength. Next is the real attack. It's getting more and more interesting. Jiang Chen was not a fool. He instantly understood the key point. At the same time, he couldn't help but admire the iron dummy array. Such a wonderful formation. The person who created this formation must be a genius. Jiang Chen didn't know that this iron dummy array was created by Ouyang He. It was specifically targeted at the outer sect disciples. The purpose of this array was to help the sect promote geniuses. However, there weren't many people who could pass through the iron dummy array in recent years. Tian Muyun was one of the most powerful ones. Ka. Just at the moment when the formation was completed, 7 puppets appeared in 7 different directions. Each of them moved at an extremely fast speed, even faster than before. The 7 puppets cooperated with each other tacitly and attacked from 7 different directions at the same time. This was a kind of omnidirectional attack with no blind spots. Jiang Chen himself was restricted by the formation, so it was difficult for him to dodge. Now that these puppets were attacking so quickly, it was indeed not easy to deal with them. Good timing. Jiang Chen shouted in a low voice without the slightest fear. His footsteps were mysterious and his body movement was also extremely fast. He punched out 7 times in a blink of an eye, and each punch collided with the fists of the 7 puppets. Bang 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 bang. The dull sound brought about a large number of sparks, but this time, the 4 puppets were not damaged like before. They were only pushed back 2 steps by Jiang Chen's thighs. The scene of their arms being smashed by Jiang Chen's punch didn't happen at all. Motherfucker, I don't know what material these puppets are made of, but they are so abnormal. With the adjustment and blessing of the formation, their bodies have become tyrannical and strong to such an extent that they can already compete with me head-on. But this is also good. I can use them to temper my body. This kind of most primitive collision is also very beneficial to me and can greatly enhance my foundation. Jiang Chen's competitive spirit was aroused. He decided to have some fun with these puppets. Ka. This time, it was not the previous 7 puppets, but 14. The number had doubled. At the same time, they attacked from different directions, and their speed was getting faster and faster. Jiang Chen took a deep breath. In the face of so many powerful puppets, if it was someone else, they would immediately feel numb. It seemed that the outside world's description of the iron dummy formation was somewhat reasonable. This formation was indeed terrifying. 9 phantom wolves. Jiang Chen shouted again and directly displayed the 9 phantom wolves. For a moment, the entire formation was filled with Jiang Chen's figure. This situation immediately disturbed the perception of the puppets and directly disrupted the tacit cooperation between the puppets, which greatly reduced the pressure on Jiang Chen. Good body movement. Chapter 1168. Even Li Zhong and Yuan Kuei, who were outside the iron dummy array, couldn't see the situation inside the iron dummy array. They could only judge Jiang Chen's basic situation through the light emitted by his identity jade token. However, the old man could clearly see the situation inside the iron dummy array through the crystal ball. Moreover, the old man owned an independent mountain in the core of Tianyun Pavilion and his own cultivation palace. All these indicated that the old man's identity and status in Tianyun Pavilion was beyond the reach of ordinary people. The old man's casual movement would emit an extremely powerful qi. He was an existence that had completely surpassed the immortal realm. He was a true golden immortal expert who had comprehended the profound meaning of Daluo. Normally, an existence at this level would not pay attention to the situation of the outer sect and inner sect. After all, given their status, these things were completely beneath their notice. However, there would be some elders who would take a look when they had nothing to do. This was also the reason why some outer sect disciples were accepted as true disciples by golden immortal experts after successfully breaking through the iron dummy array. The old man happened to be bored today and happened to see Jiang Chen breaking through the iron dummy array, so he took a look out of curiosity. Unexpectedly, he was immediately attracted by Jiang Chen. Originally, he thought that he would just take a look, and if the performance of the person inside was not very good, he would directly turn off the crystal ball. But now, he was ready to keep watching. Inside the iron dummy array, Jiang Chen and the 14 puppets fought for a round. It was a very enjoyable and comfortable fight. During the process of colliding with these puppets, Jiang Chen felt that all the muscle cells in his body began to throb. These puppets not only had powerful and violent attack power, but also unparalleled speed, which forced him to fight with all his strength. In such a situation where his energy was highly concentrated and his body functions were fully mobilized, it was very beneficial for Jiang Chen to fight these puppets. Ka. The next round was about to begin. This time, all the puppets moved. There was a total of 28 puppets, and all of them had locked onto Jiang Chen. Following the rotation of the formation, the 28 puppets shifted their positions. It was a dazzling scene. Their teamwork had reached the pinnacle. In addition to their incredible speed, they looked exactly the same. For a moment, the entire formation was filled with the figures of the puppets. At first glance, there were more than thousands of them, causing people to feel dizzy. He managed to mobilize all 28 puppets so quickly. This is the most terrifying moment of the iron dummy array. Just the appearance and aura of those puppets is enough to make people want to retreat. This old man wants to see how this kid will deal with the next battle. The eyes of the old man who was secretly watching the crystal ball lit up once again. Under normal circumstances, it would take at least 7 or 8 minutes for the geniuses to mobilize all the puppets in the iron dummy array. This was because by this time, the geniuses inside had basically displayed all their skills. The number of puppets would increase according to the opponent's ability. Most of the disciples who failed to mobilize all the puppets would fail before they could even mobilize all the puppets. However, Jiang Chen only used 2 minutes to mobilize all the puppets. Furthermore, Jiang Chen looked calm and relaxed. It didn't look like he was trying his best. It seems like I'm going to have a great harvest today. Fighting with these puppets is more beneficial than cultivating in the martial arts hall for a few years. 28 puppets. Come at me together. Let's have a good fight. Jiang Chen's entire body was filled with battle intent. His aura was getting stronger and stronger. A blood-colored dragon shadow was hovering above his head. That was the blood qi. The blood qi was like a dragon, and it was the sign that the blood qi was extremely dense. Jiang Chen could already use the dragon transformation, and his blood qi was several times more terrifying than any ordinary unparalleled great demon. With the release of his soul force and the coverage of the great soul derivation technique, those fast puppets had nowhere to hide. Every move of theirs was in the range of Jiang Chen's perception. Bang, bang, bang. Subsequently, Jiang Chen attacked with lightning speed. He didn't use any combat skills and only used his terrifying physical body to fight. The entire battlefield was in complete chaos. There were shadows everywhere. Jiang Chen's shadow and the puppet's shadow. It was a dazzling sight, and it was impossible to tell who was who. Every time they clashed, there would be large sparks. Due to the speed of the collisions, the entire array formation was about to be engulfed in a sea of fire. Every time he fought with these puppets, Jiang Chen's arm would feel numb, but the numbness would automatically recover in the next moment. This kind of high-intensity battle had caused the qi and blood in his body to circulate faster and faster, and his abilities and potential were constantly being developed. For Jiang Chen, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Given his eyesight, he was naturally able to see everything clearly. He could clearly see that Jiang Chen was facing the attacks of the 28 puppets at the same time. Jiang Chen was able to deal with the puppets with ease and accurately pinpoint the positions of the puppets. What a keen perception. This man has actually given me such a big surprise. This old man is going to divine this brat's future. The more the old man watched, the more astonished he became. Immediately, he couldn't help but begin his divination. Speaking of the art of divination, everyone in One Line Sky knew about the famous Tianji Zi, who had the title of Divine Divination. This old man was Tianji Zi. His cultivation base was only at the peak of intermediate Golden Immortal Realm, but his status in Tianyun Pavilion was equal to those late Golden Immortal Elders. In the past, even Ouyang he had to address him as a brother. Even Tian Muyun had to address him as uncle. The so-called art of divination was to see through the heaven's secret. Although Tianji Zi was a Golden Immortal expert, his cultivation base was still far from enough in the art of divination. Therefore, Tianji Zi couldn't predict everything. Even so, it was already very terrifying. Tianji Zi and Ouyang he had a very good relationship. 2 years ago, when Ouyang he was breaking through to the Immortal King realm, Tianji Zi happened to be away from the sect. Otherwise, he would have divined for Ouyang he. Although he couldn't predict that Tian Muyun would frame his master, he could at least predict a good or bad luck. The death of Ouyang he had made Tianji Zi blame himself for 2 years. Today, when he saw how miraculous Jiang Chen was, Tianji Zi couldn't help but divine, but the result of his divination gave him a great shock. What a good brat! Even with this old man's ability, I can't divine anything about him. This man doesn't seem to be part of the heaven's secret. He seems to be an existence that transcends fate. It seems like this man isn't simple. He is indeed a man with great luck. The possibility of Jiang Chen becoming Tianyun Pavilion's secret is a variable in One Line Sky. Chapter 1169. 5 minutes later, Jiang Chen was still in the fierce battle with all the puppets. At this moment, Jiang Chen had completely fallen into a state of selflessness. For him, fighting with these puppets was no longer a kind of torture, but a kind of enjoyment. It was a rare cultivation that could let him enter another rare state. Jiang Chen did not notice that this kind of development of potential and function actually made his qi restless. Under the automatic operation of the dragon transformation skill, new dragon marks began to condense in his body. Outside the palace, everyone's eyes were fixed on the identity jade card. They saw that Jiang Chen's identity jade card was shining brightly and there was no sign of it declining. Amazing! He has already persisted for 5 minutes and he can still maintain such a good state. This guy is really extraordinary. Yeah, the light of the identity jade card is basically the same as when he first entered. That is to say, his condition is still as good as at the beginning. I can't believe it. I just don't know if he can persist for 10 minutes. See, I don't think it will be so easy. The horror of the iron dummy array is beyond our imagination. Many people revealed a trace of shock. Perhaps for the geniuses who entered the iron dummy array, persisting for 5 minutes was nothing. But to be able to persist for 5 minutes and still maintain such a strong state at the beginning was too surprising. One should know that fighting with those puppets was a great consumption of energy. This kind of consumption was not something that ordinary people could bear. It looks very surprising. Do you think he can succeed? Li Zhong looked at the other elders with a smile. The other elders did not speak. They did not expect Jiang Chen's performance. At this time, no one dared to guarantee that Jiang Chen would not be able to break through the iron dummy array. They even had some expectations in their hearts, especially those outer sect elders. After all, there had not been a decent genius in the outer sect for a long time. If Jiang Chen could break through the iron dummy array, they would also be proud. Inside the palace, Jiang Chen was sweating profusely. His eyes were filled with obsession. He had completely entered a state of forgetfulness. Now, he no longer needed to deliberately observe the traces of the puppets. He had already grasped the trajectory of the iron dummy array. His fighting with the puppets was getting easier and easier. It didn't feel like a fight, but more like a game. If outsiders were to see this, they would be so shocked that they would not be able to close their mouths. Tianji stared unblinkingly at the crystal ball. He didn't know what to say about Jiang Chen's state. He didn't dare to say that there was no genius more talented than Jiang Chen in the ethereal immortal domain, but he was sure that Jiang Chen was the most talented genius he had ever seen. Jiang Chen had surpassed Tian Muyun's. Soon, another 4 minutes passed. It had been 9 minutes since Jiang Chen entered the iron dummy array. There was only 1 minute left before he succeeded. At this time, there was a commotion outside the palace. My God! There's only 1 minute left. His state is still the same as before. Could it be that he is still unscathed under the attacks of so many puppets? It's too abnormal. It seems like he is really going to break through the iron dummy array. He has persisted for 9 minutes in his peak state. The last minute is never a big deal. Another genius has emerged in Skycloud Pavilion. Don't worry. The last minute is often the easiest time for changes to occur. Maybe his actual state isn't as good as the Jade token shows. The sound of discussion began again. Most of the disciples and elders were excited. Although they weren't the ones who were trying to break through the array, it was still very good to be able to witness the birth of a genius. After all, it had been a long time since someone had succeeded in breaking through the iron dummy array. The last minute passed very quickly for Jiang Chen. The fierce battle in the array also came to an end. The 28 puppets actually stopped their attacks and returned to their original positions at the same time. Jiang Chen was stunned. When he regained his senses, he found that the battle was over. But to him, there was still a feeling of longing for more. Is the 10-minute time up? Jiang Chen shook his head reluctantly. Just as he was about to withdraw his qi and walk out of the palace, he suddenly found that 2,000 new dragon marks had been condensed in his dantian. This was no small matter. 2,000 new dragon marks. I didn't expect that fighting these puppets would bring me such great benefits. With just 8,000 more, I will be able to assail the half-step heavenly immortal stage. My potential has yet to be fully stimulated. I have yet to utilize the dragon transformation technique. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If I just walk out like this, I will suffer a great loss. These puppets can adjust their strength according to my strength. If I were to utilize the dragon transformation technique to fight them, I would be able to fully utilize my fleshly body's functions. Chen Feng thought to himself, to think that I could condense out 2,000 dragon marks. Unexpectedly, fighting these puppets would bring me so many benefits. I was only 10,000 dragon marks away from the half-step heavenly immortal stage. Now, I have condensed out 2,000. Jiang Chen was pleasantly surprised. He decided not to walk out of the formation. This terrifying iron dummy array had become the best training ground for him. If he continued to fight, he was confident that he could break through to the half-step heaven immortal realm. He wouldn't forgive himself if he missed such an opportunity. Edited by Lifer. Fingerfox. Again. Dragon transformation. With a sway of his body, Jiang Chen transformed into his dragon form, instantly increasing his combat strength by 10 times. Li Zhong had told him clearly that after the puppets stopped attacking, Jiang Chen would have 10 seconds to walk out of the palace. Once that happened, he would be considered to have passed the trial. If he didn't come out within 10 seconds, the puppets would attack him again. Therefore, Jiang Chen decided not to walk out of the palace. He would continue the battle after 10 seconds. What kind of technique is this? How can his combat strength increase by 10 times in an instant? In the palace, Tianji sprang to his feet when he saw Jiang Chen's transformation technique. His face was filled with shock. He could see that this was a transformation technique that surpassed the forbidden art. He wasn't too surprised by this technique. What really surprised him was the increase of Jiang Chen's combat strength. 10 times of combat strength. This was a heaven-defying increase. If he didn't see it with his own eyes, he wouldn't believe it. He has succeeded. Why isn't this kid going out? Could it be that he wants to continue fighting these puppets? It seems like he has gained great benefits from the battle just now. Now, he is treating the iron dummy array as his training ground. How audacious! Doesn't this bastard know that once the iron dummy array is activated again, it won't be able to stop? Chapter 1170. Tianjizi was somewhat moved. He had already understood Jiang Chen's actions. It was obvious that Jiang Chen had gained a lot of benefits from the previous battle with the iron dummy array. Now, his combat strength had soared to the extreme and he wanted to pursue greater progress. In other words, in the eyes of Jiang Chen, breaking through the iron dummy array was meaningless. It was as if it was an extremely simple thing. What Jiang Chen wanted was to stimulate his potential to a higher level. He completely regarded the iron dummy array as a training ground. Outside the palace. 10 minutes had passed. Many people breathed a sigh of relief. Many people seemed very excited. Fu Hui was very excited. He had been paying attention to Jiang Chen's situation. He didn't expect that Jiang Chen would really succeed. This made him very shocked and happy. I, Fu Hui, didn't choose the wrong person. Brother Zhang's future is immeasurable. In the future, if I follow him, there will be endless benefits. Fu Hui thought in his heart. He was very happy for his eyesight. Damn, this guy actually succeeded in breaking through the iron dummy array. It's really amazing. No one has been able to break through the iron dummy array for a long time. Jiang Chen has created another miracle. It is indeed a miracle. From the beginning to the end, the light on Jiang Chen's identity jade plate didn't change at all. It didn't dim at all. This is the rarest thing. Sooner or later, he will be valued by the higher-ups. I really envy him. He is destined to be an extraordinary person since he can break through the iron dummy array. However, it is also good for us that he can successfully enter the inner sect. Finally, we have sent this plague away. During these days when he was in the outer sect, we didn't have a good time. Many disciples sighed, especially those outer sect disciples. Although they hated Jiang Chen very much, at this moment, when they saw that Jiang Chen had succeeded, they actually felt happy. They were not happy for Jiang Chen, but happy for themselves. After all, sending away Jiang Chen was something worth celebrating. However, 10 seconds passed quickly. The crowd didn't see the palace gate open, nor did they see Jiang Chen coming out. What's going on? 10 seconds have passed. Why isn't this guy coming out? Grand Elder Li Zhong was the first to change his expression. He seemed to have sensed something. That's right. 10 seconds have passed. Why hasn't Jiang Chen come out? Could it be that he wants to continue fighting those puppets? That's insane. Doesn't he know that if those puppets attack again, it won't be a matter of 10 minutes, but a never-ending attack? What the hell? Why don't you come out? You've already succeeded, so why don't you come out? Is it very comfortable to stay in the iron dummy array? Time has passed. Jiang Chen still hasn't come out. The puppets will definitely continue attacking. I don't think that guy will be able to come out. He's too careless. Before the crowd could recover from the shock of Jiang Chen's success, they were even more shocked. The iron dummy array had been established for a long time, but such a situation had never occurred. In the past, all the geniuses who succeeded in breaking through the iron dummy array would rush out after 10 minutes. Those who came out were exhausted and injured. Basically, none of them were in good condition. After experiencing the horror of the puppets, they were unwilling to stay in the iron dummy array for another second. But today, Jiang Chen chose to stay in the iron dummy array after succeeding. In the eyes of outsiders, this was simply a suicidal move. Grand Elder, what should we do now? Yuan Kuei asked Li Zhong. I guess that Jiang Chen must want to temper himself with the help of the puppets. He wants to gain experience inside. Don't worry, his identity jade card is still shining brightly. When he can't hold on any longer, I will rescue him. I want to see how long this guy can stay in the iron dummy array. Li Zhong said. He was extremely curious about Jiang Chen now. Such a situation had never happened in the iron dummy array. Not only him, but many people were also wondering how long Jiang Chen could stay in the iron dummy array. This was destined to be the birth of a miracle. No matter how long Jiang Chen could stay in the iron dummy array, the matter of Jiang Chen breaking through the iron dummy array would eventually become a legend in Tianyun Pavilion. It was likely that no one would be able to break Jiang Chen's record in the future. Once again, the atmosphere became tense. What was supposed to have ended seemed to have started anew. All the elders and disciples had their eyes fixed on Jiang Chen's jade token once again. In the palace, after 10 seconds, those puppets once again attacked Jiang Chen crazily. The iron dummy array's formation was operating at a high speed, and it was operating more violently than before. Rumble! Jiang Chen displayed his dragon transformation body. It was as if he had entered the origin state. The dragon blood in his body was constantly beating. Every punch carried an ancient and heavy aura. In just a moment, 6 or 7 puppets were blown up by Jiang Chen on the spot. They seemed to be completely vulnerable. But in the next moment, the destroyed puppets regrouped and turned into new puppets. Moreover, when they sensed the change in Jiang Chen's strength, the formation began to change as well. The surface of the puppets' bodies began to emit rays of light, and once again, they attacked Jiang Chen fiercely. In the palace, Tianji Zi's facial expression changed again. At first, he didn't pay special attention to the strength of these puppets, but after Jiang Chen displayed his dragon transformation body, he began to pay attention to the combat strength of these puppets, which shocked him greatly. This bastard is absolutely a peerless monstrous genius. The attack strength of these puppets has already reached the late heaven immortal realm, while this kid is only a late earth immortal expert, not even a half-step heaven immortal expert. Even though his dragon transformation body has increased his combat strength by 10 times, he can still fight 28 late earth immortal experts at the same time without falling into a disadvantageous position. He's simply a monster. Tianji Zi couldn't keep his calm. As a senior elder of Tianyun Pavilion and a famous figure in One Line Sky, he had seen plenty of geniuses. Tian Muyun was already very outstanding, but compared to Jiang Chen, the gap between him and Tian Muyun wasn't just a little bit. Tianji Zi had already developed a strong interest in Jiang Chen. He even made a decision that he had never made before, to accept Jiang Chen as his true disciple. Of course, this idea had just sprouted in his mind. Whether Jiang Chen would have the opportunity to be accepted by Tianji Zi as his true disciple would depend on Jiang Chen's performance. Bang! 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 Chapter 1171. Jiang Chen's blood and qi were surging. He fell into a crazy state of fighting. He didn't even deliberately lock the position of those puppets, nor did he deliberately block all the attacks of those puppets. Sometimes, during the fierce battle, he let the puppet's fists hit his body. The dragon scales on his body were broken and blood flowed out. However, Jiang Chen didn't seem to feel such injuries at all. He was immersed in the pleasure and couldn't extricate himself. His potential and physical functions were constantly stimulated and new dragon marks were constantly condensed. In the blink of an eye, 20 minutes had passed. From the time Jiang Chen entered the iron dummy array to the present, half an hour had passed. For Tianyun Pavilion, this was already a miracle among miracles. Damn! It's been half an hour. Is he still a human? I feel that his identity jade plate hasn't changed at all. It's still as vigorous as before. He can actually persist in the iron dummy array for half an hour and still maintain his original peak state. How is this possible? Beast, he's simply a beast. I have never seen such an abnormal person. It's been half an hour. Is he still a human? I don't know how long he will persist in there. It's been half an hour. Do you think he can persist in there for an hour? It's really hard to say. I won't be surprised even if such an evildoer creates a big miracle. At this time, many people were numb. Some people guessed how long Jiang Chen could persist in the iron dummy array, but no one could give a conclusion. After waiting for half an hour, no one felt impatient. On the contrary, they were all in high spirits because this was the birth of a miracle. For them, it was not easy to witness a miracle. Tianji Zi watched all of Jiang Chen's performance. He was getting more and more shocked. With his eyesight, he could clearly see that although Jiang Chen was constantly injured in the array, these injuries didn't affect Jiang Chen at all. Tianji Zi also felt that these injuries were deliberately caused by Jiang Chen. If he wanted to, those puppets wouldn't be able to hit him at all. The number of dragon marks in Jiang Chen's body had already reached 7,000. With only 3,000 left, he could directly break through to the half-step heaven immortal realm. To Jiang Chen, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. His potential hadn't been exhausted yet. Jiang Chen was absolutely sure that he could break through to the half-step heaven immortal realm in this iron dummy array, and reach an even more terrifying level. Time passed very slowly, but it also passed very quickly. Half an hour had passed in a blink of an eye. Jiang Chen still hadn't walked out of the iron dummy array, but the jade token that was exposed to everyone was still shining brightly, showing no signs of dimming. By this time, even Li Zhong couldn't stand it anymore. He rolled his eyes from time to time. Such a blow was really hard to accept. How could there be such an abnormal person in this world? Oh my God! It's been an hour. I can't stand it anymore. It's fine if it's an hour, but his condition is still as good as before. Could it be that he didn't consume any energy in there? I can't stand it either. I really don't know how long he can last. Many of them couldn't stand it anymore. It was too terrifying. An hour. Who could last an hour in the iron dummy array? By this time, Jiang Chen had already achieved his goal. After an hour, his qi suddenly stirred. 3,000 dragon marks were completely condensed. Adding the 7,000 dragon marks from before, he now had a total of 10,000 dragon marks. Currently, the number of dragon marks in Jiang Chen's qi was 450,000. 450,000 dragon marks was the threshold of the half-step heaven immortal realm. The instant he successfully advanced to the half-step heaven immortal realm, Jiang Chen finally regained his senses. He had completely recovered from the brutal battle just now. He took a deep breath and absorbed a large amount of immortal meta stones as if they were worthless. In just a short period of time, he had successfully advanced to the half-step heaven immortal realm. Advanced? Tianji Zi, who had been paying attention to the situation inside the crystal ball, couldn't help but be stunned. He instantly understood that this was Jiang Chen's goal. He wanted to stimulate his potential with the help of the iron dummy array, so that he could break through the bottleneck and reach a higher realm. Courageous and resourceful. Not bad. Tianji Zi couldn't help but praise Jiang Chen once more, but he was also curious about how Jiang Chen was going to get out of the iron dummy array. Although Jiang Chen had advanced, the attacks of the puppets would still continue, and the strength of the puppets would increase along with Jiang Chen's strength. Ka. The puppets didn't show any signs of stopping. They continued to attack Jiang Chen, but Jiang Chen had already lost interest in tangling with these puppets. He exerted a massive amount of soul power and covered the entire array with a great soul derivation technique. Looks like I'll have to get rid of these puppets if I want to get out of here. These puppets are only able to fight because of the support of the magic array. As long as I break the magic array and find the key point of the magic array, I'll be able to destroy these puppets and make them unable to recover. Jiang Chen thought to himself. Now that his goal had been achieved, he had successfully advanced to the half-step heaven immortal realm. What he needed to do now was to get out of this place, but the 10 minutes deadline had already passed. The only way to get out of this place was to break the iron dummy array and destroy these puppets. Perhaps, when Ouyang He created the iron dummy array, he wouldn't have thought that an outer sect disciple would be able to break the array. No matter how talented an outer sect disciple was, it was almost impossible for them to do so. Unfortunately, the one standing here today was Jiang Chen. With the help of the great soul derivation technique, Jiang Chen was able to grasp the trajectory of the array very quickly. The 7 positions of the array worked seamlessly with each other. It was almost impossible to find a flaw in this array. Not even Jiang Chen could find it. This array has been integrated with the profound meaning of the Big Dipper transposition technique. The 7 positions work together with each other. Each of them is part of the array, and none of them are part of the array. It's impossible to break it. Jiang Chen shook his head. Deep in his heart, he had a trace of respect for the creator of this iron dummy array. To be able to create such an array, it was enough to show that the creator had an extremely profound attainment in the Tao of array. Jiang Chen used the great soul derivation technique again, diverting his attention from the array to the puppets. In Jiang Chen's point of view, no matter how perfect an array was, there must be a way to break it. Since the flaw of the iron dummy array wasn't in the array itself, it must be in the puppets. Chapter 1172. Jiang Chen used the 9 Phantom Wolves transformation art and the spatial shift. Countless figures shuttled back and forth among the puppets. The great soul derivation technique was like an invisible sword that swept across these puppets one by one, trying to find out all the flaws of these puppets. Suddenly, Jiang Chen's eyes locked on the glabella of one of the puppets. At first glance, this puppet looked no different from the others, but no subtle changes could escape the perception of Jiang Chen's great soul derivation technique. There was a dark dot on the glabella of this puppet. It was a very small, so small that one couldn't even see it standing in front of them. Perhaps only Jiang Chen could discover such a small difference. This was the magic of the great soul derivation technique. Plus, Jiang Chen had lived 2 lives and was once an ancestor-like existence, which gave him advantages in all aspects that ordinary people couldn't reach. "It's you." A smile appeared on the corner of Jiang Chen's mouth. Suddenly, he pointed his finger. This finger carried all his strength, emitting a bright light. With a snap, it touched the glabella of the puppet. Bang! The moment the puppet's glabella was touched, its head exploded. Its huge and majestic body began to disintegrate, turning into a pile of ruins. This time, the puppet didn't recover. Not only that, the iron dummy array immediately stopped operating. The entire palace instantly returned to its previous tranquility. The remaining 27 puppets were all motionless, as if everything had stopped moving. A smile appeared on the corner of Jiang Chen's mouth. It turned out that the flaw of the iron dummy array could be found so easily. In the palace, Tianji almost jumped up. Both of his eyes were wide open, staring unblinkingly at the crystal ball in front of him. He couldn't believe what he saw. Good boy, he actually broke the spirit array. This is the spirit array that sect leader Ouyang personally set up. It's almost perfect. He actually broke it and used this method to successfully walk out of the spirit array. Is this guy trying to defy the heavens? Tianji could no longer maintain his composure. As a powerful golden immortal expert, his mind was very tough. There were not many things in the world that could cause such a huge change in his mood. But today, Jiang Chen had created 3 miracles in the iron dummy array, which made him unable to calm down at all. This young man is the true son of heaven, not someone like Tianmuyun can compare to. His appearance in Tianyun Pavilion is a great blessing for Tianyun Pavilion. After Tianji finished speaking, he seemed to have made a huge decision and disappeared from the palace. Outside the palace, everyone was still waiting. However, the tightly shut door of the palace was slowly opened. Jiang Chen, dressed in white, walked out from inside. He was just as calm as when he entered. There was no change of expression on his face. However, the brilliance he carried was completely different. He was a miracle creator, a miracle who could persist in the iron dummy array for an hour and still walk out by himself. But how did he manage to walk out? The iron dummy array was running endlessly and the puppets were attacking endlessly. Under such circumstances, it was impossible for one to walk out of the array by himself. He could only be brought out by the elders when he couldn't hold on any longer. However, Jiang Chen walked out of the array by himself. What's going on? Why did he walk out by himself? That's right. What happened in the iron dummy array? Could it be that Jiang Chen didn't fight with those puppets at all? Look, Jiang Chen doesn't have any injuries. Something's wrong. There must be something wrong. Many of them were surprised. They couldn't see the situation inside, so they didn't know what had happened inside. However, the fact that Jiang Chen could walk out by himself was a miracle in itself. Li Zhong and Yuan Kuei looked at each other and then flew into the palace at the same time. The other elders also followed them. They must see what happened inside. Jiang Chen had reactivated the iron dummy array and it was impossible for him to walk out. Therefore, the result was beyond their imagination and they had to find out what had happened. Inside the palace, all the inner and outer elders were dumbfounded. Their expressions were the same. Their eyes and mouths were wide open. They couldn't believe what they had just seen. The iron dummy array had been broken. There was no longer any array in operation. One of the puppets had turned into ruins. Although the other puppets were intact, without the support of the array, they were no different from scrap iron. My God, what did he do? He actually broke the formation and walked out by himself. How is this possible? This is impossible. This formation was created by sect leader Ouyang himself. How could an outer disciple break it so easily? Everyone was dumbfounded. They couldn't imagine how an outer disciple at the Earth Immortal Realm could break the formation set up by Ouyang He. This could no longer be described as a miracle. Let's go out. Li Zhong turned around and walked out. All the elders came to Jiang Chen. Li Zhong looked at Jiang Chen from head to toe. He still couldn't believe it, but he had to accept the fact that it had become a fact. Jiang Chen, you actually destroyed the iron dummy array. Li Zhong felt that his voice was trembling. What? This guy destroyed the iron dummy array? How is this possible? It was created by sect leader Ouyang himself. My God, is he still human? He broke the iron dummy array and walked out of it calmly. This has never happened before. Even the talented sect leader Tian couldn't do it. Abnormal. This is too abnormal. But the iron dummy array is a symbol of our Tianyun pavilion. It's a big crime for him to destroy the iron dummy array. He might be punished. The whole place was in an uproar. From the inner sect to the outer sect, Jiang Chen's performance today was destined to be recorded in the history of Tianyun Pavilion. Regardless of whether he would be punished by the sect for destroying the iron dummy array, no one else would be able to do what he did. Yes. Elder. I have to break the formation in order to walk out of it. In this way, I can be considered to have successfully broken through the iron dummy array. Jiang Chen said unhurriedly. He was no longer breaking through the formation, but breaking it. If this wasn't considered a success, then what else could be considered a success? Jiang Chen, you have indeed succeeded, but you have destroyed the iron dummy array. That was the symbol left by sect leader Ouyang. This is a big crime. Li Zhong said. Now that the iron dummy array was destroyed, he, the great elder, wouldn't be able to escape responsibility if the higher-ups investigated. Don't worry, great elder. I have a way to destroy the iron dummy array, so I also have a way to restore it. Give me 1 day and I will return an intact iron dummy array to the sect. Chapter 1173. What did you say? Li Zhong was dumbfounded. He suspected that his ears were playing tricks on him. Jiang Chen said that he would restore the iron dummy array. Was he joking? How could an ordinary person repair the iron dummy array created by Ouyang He? Are you kidding me? This guy must be bragging. It's already a miracle that he could break the iron dummy array. I don't believe that he can restore it. Could it be that his attainments in array surpass sect leader Ouyang? That's right. This person is too arrogant. He doesn't even think about boasting. With his cultivation, it's impossible for him to completely repair the iron dummy array. I don't think that Jiang Chen is lying. Maybe he really has a way to restore the iron dummy array. Did you believe that he could break the iron dummy array? Most of the people thought that Jiang Chen was bragging. It was simply a joke. It was not easy to restore the iron dummy array. However, some people thought that Jiang Chen was not bragging. After all, he had created a miracle. Who could guarantee that he could not create another miracle? Don't be surprised, Elder. I do have some knowledge in array. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to break the iron dummy array. Just give me 1 day and I promise to restore the iron dummy array. I have completely mastered the characteristics of the iron dummy array. If I can't restore it completely, I'm willing to be punished. Jiang Chen cupped his fist and said confidently. If he only relied on himself, it might be difficult to restore the iron dummy array. However, with the help of De Huang Dog, it would not be a problem. He trusted De Huang Dog's ability. De Huang Dog was proficient in the Holy Book of Source Formations. His attainments in array were incomparable to Ouyang He's. If Ouyang He had an advantage over De Huang Dog, it was only in terms of cultivation. Jiang Chen believed that the iron dummy array would be more exquisite after being rebuilt by De Huang Dog. If he had brought De Huang Dog with him when he tried to break through the formation, he would not have needed to expend so much effort to break the formation. Good, Jiang Chen. You are really amazing. I hope you are not bragging. If you can completely restore the iron dummy array, the sect will definitely give you some rewards. Every genius who can walk out of the iron dummy array will get some rewards. With your talent, your future achievements are bound to be limitless. Li Zhong nodded and praised. His impression of Jiang Chen had completely changed. Not only him, but Jiang Chen had also changed many people's view of him with his actions. He was a creator of miracles. Countless people were amazed by his miracles. At this time, Basically everyone was sure that Jiang Chen's talent had reached an unparalleled level. Although they didn't dare to say it, they knew that Jiang Chen's talent was above Tian Muyun's. Jiang Chen's achievements would probably surpass Tian Muyun's. From today onwards, Tianyun Pavilion had another monstrous genius. At this moment, a figure suddenly flew out from the inner core of Tianyun Pavilion and descended from the sky. As soon as this person appeared, the entire mountain peak was shrouded by a faint pressure. Under this pressure, everyone felt a little unnatural. Everyone's eyes fell on the old man who suddenly appeared. The old man was dressed in a clean robe and looked to be in his 50s. His eyes were incomparably bright and full of expression. His every movement gave people a sense of transcendence, making them unable to help but feel a sense of respect. After the old man appeared, he didn't pay attention to the others. His eyes were directly locked on Jiang Chen. Now that he was looking at him face to face, it was different from looking at him through the crystal ball. The old man only felt that this young man was calm, full of vitality, and vaguely shrouded by the chi of a true dragon. He was the true son of heaven, a person with a boundless future. It's Elder Tianji Zi. My God, why is he here? Could it be that Jiang Chen's challenge of the iron dummy array alarmed him? Elder Tianji Zi has appeared. He's the most powerful person of this generation in one-line sky. He's the apex elder of our Tianyun Pavilion, second only to the sect master. Moreover, Elder Tianji Zi has an eccentric personality. I've been in Tianyun Pavilion for so many years, but I've only seen Elder Tianji Zi once. This is the second time. Elder Tianji Zi can see through the mysteries of heaven. His divination technique is extremely good. He has a good relationship with Sect Master Ouyang. Even Sect Master Tian has to be polite to him. The appearance of Tianji Zi immediately caused a commotion. However, in front of a character like Tianji Zi, no one dared to speak loudly. Even if they were discussing in a low voice, they had to be careful. If they offended this elder, it would be normal for them to be killed on the spot. At that time, they wouldn't even have a place to reason with him. Greetings, Elder Tianji. Li Zhong and the others didn't dare to show any neglect. They immediately bowed to Tianji Zi with incomparable respect. Although they were curious about the sudden appearance of the Supreme Elder, there was one thing they were sure of. Tianji Zi's appearance was for Jiang Chen. This could be seen from Tianji Zi's behavior. Currently, all of his attention was focused on Jiang Chen, and he had already turned a blind eye to them, treating them as air. While Tianji Zi was sizing up Jiang Chen was also sizing him up. He felt that this elder in front of him was unfathomable. There was a simple ethereal aura about him that made him unfathomable. He was like an eminent monk or a banished immortal who had transcended the laws. More importantly, he was a golden immortal expert, a powerful perfected golden immortal. Jiang Chen, why aren't you greeting Elder Tianji Zi? Jiang Chen, your great opportunity has come. Elder Tianji Zi is the most distinguished elder of the sect. He has been proud and aloof all his life and is a good friend of Master Ouyang. Although Elder Tianji Zi is only at the peak of intermediate golden immortal realm, his status isn't any weaker than those late golden immortal elders. He is proficient in the art of divination and is good at predicting the future. Even Master Tian has to give him some face. Furthermore, Elder Tianji has never accepted a true disciple. It seems like your performance in the iron dummy array has alarmed Elder Tianji. If Elder Tianji really wants to accept you as a true disciple, you will be really lucky to become a true disciple all of a sudden. From then on, your status in Skycloud Pavilion will skyrocket, and your status will be countless times nobler than any ordinary inner sect disciple. Jiang Chen said with a frown. Chapter 1174. After listening to Li Zhong's words, Jiang Chen was slightly surprised and instantly developed a strong interest in Tianji Zi. This interest was much more than his interest in Ouyang He. Because Jiang Chen was basically involved in all the fields that Ouyang He was involved in, so he didn't care at all. However, Tianji Zi was involved in the field of divination, which was something that he had never been involved in. The art of divination was broad and profound. Jiang Chen couldn't refuse this temptation at all. Just as Li Zhong said, this was a great opportunity for him. Disciple Jiang Chen pays respect to Elder Tianji. Jiang Chen hurriedly cupped his fists towards Tianji Zi. His posture was neither servile nor overbearing. His eyes didn't waver at all. Good boy. Neither servile nor overbearing. you can still maintain a basic calmness in front of this elder. This temperament is very good. Furthermore, this elder observed the whole process of you breaking the array and found that your soul force is incomparably vigorous. This is a necessary condition for cultivating the art of divination. Tianji was not stingy with his words of praise for Jiang Chen. Because he was the only one who witnessed the whole process of Jiang Chen breaking the array, he could no longer maintain his composure. The purpose of his appearance was to accept Jiang Chen as his true disciple. Therefore, he didn't put on any airs and stated his purpose right away. Hearing this, Jiang Chen couldn't help but be stunned and then felt a lingering fear. From Tianji's tone, it wasn't difficult to tell that the higher-ups in Tianyun Pavilion had a way to see everything that happened inside the iron dummy array. Fortunately, his performance inside was stable and he didn't expose any trump card that shouldn't be exposed, especially the aura of the Heavenly Dragon Combat Halberd. As for the dragon transformation technique, it was no longer a secret. Back when he destroyed the mine of Shenyang School, he had used it. This was a unique combat technique that didn't need to be hidden. Jiang Chen, this old man now wants to accept you as a true disciple and impart the art of divination to you. Are you willing? But you have to think it through. The Tao of divination is difficult to understand and extremely difficult to cultivate. If you're not willing, this old man will not force you. Tianji stared at Jiang Chen without blinking his eyes and stated his purpose straight away. Hua! As soon as this statement came out, it immediately caused an uproar. Everyone looked at Jiang Chen with envy and hatred. God damn it! Just what kind of dog's hit luck does this kid have? To think that a golden immortal elder would take the initiative to accept him as a legacy disciple. Not to mention, it's the renowned elder Tianji. Elder Tianji is famous for his eccentricity. He has been in Skycloud Pavilion for so many years, but he has always been alone. He has never accepted any disciple. Today, because of Jiang Chen's boldness, he is going to accept Jiang Chen as his true disciple. Isn't this guy's luck a little too good? Motherfucker. This bastard is actually still hesitating. Oh my god. Hurry up and strike him to death with a bolt of lightning. Envy, jealousy, hatred. Why can't such dog shit luck fall on me? That's Elder Tianji we're talking about. Someone realized that Jiang Chen was still hesitating at this moment. This was simply making them want to spurt out blood. If it was someone else, they would have already knelt down and kowtowed without hesitation. If this Tianji was unhappy and changed his mind, it would be a great loss. Jiang Chen raised his head and looked at Tianji. Honestly speaking, his impression of this Tianji was quite good. This Tianji didn't have that kind of overbearing attitude. One must know that when a golden immortal elder came to accept a true disciple, they would definitely put on a high and mighty attitude, as if it was Jiang Chen's fortune to be accepted as a disciple. But the way Tianji looked at him was different. There was no arrogance, only admiration, and a kind of desire. That was the desire for something that one admired. Moreover, Tianji was talking to him in a negotiating tone, giving him the right to choose. He wasn't afraid of losing face after being rejected. Jiang Chen, what are you thinking about? This is such a great opportunity. Quickly grab hold of it. Li Zhong and Yuan Kuei couldn't help but remind Jiang Chen, feeling anxious for Jiang Chen. Disciple is willing. Jiang Chen bowed to Tianji. The temptation of Tianji was too great that Jiang Chen couldn't refuse. Back then, he could refuse Ouyang He, but he couldn't refuse Tianji. After all, times had changed. Firstly, Jiang Chen was very interested in the art of Tianji. Secondly, he was now in Tianyun Pavilion. If he could get the position of a true disciple, it would be of great help to his future growth. At least, with Tianji as his backer, he could save a lot of trouble. Furthermore, Tianji and Ouyang He were best friends, which meant that they were truly on the same side. Besides, Tianji was a proud and aloof person, so it was impossible for him to be bribed by Tian Muyun. Therefore, if Jiang Chen wanted to avenge Ouyang He, Tianji was someone that he had to get close to. Now that Tianji had taken the initiative to appear, it couldn't be any better. Haha, good. From now on, Jiang Chen is my true disciple. No one will dare to bully you in Tianyun Pavilion. Bullying you is equivalent to going against me, Tianji. As for you, you can bully whoever you want. Let me see who dares to say no. Tianji burst into laughter. What he said made Jiang Chen blush with shame. That's awesome. Jiang Chen couldn't help but give Tianji Zi a thumbs up in his heart. The domineering and unruly qi that Tianji Zi carried was somewhat similar to Jiang Chen himself. However, the others began to roll their eyes. They knew all too well how awesome and domineering Tianji Zi was. Otherwise, he wouldn't have such a transcendent position in Tianyun Pavilion. What Jiang Chen had done in the outer sect was also extremely domineering. When this overbearing master and disciple met, would the peace in Tianyun Pavilion ever be restored? Congratulations to Elder Tianji for taking in an outstanding disciple, said Li Zhong. Both of you have done a good job this time. This is your reward. Tianji Zi waved his hand casually. 2 streams of light fell into Li Zhong and Yuan Kuei's hands. Both of them trembled with excitement without even looking at what they were, especially Yuan Kuei, who was only a heaven immortal expert. He had never thought that he would be rewarded by a golden immortal elder. Thank you for your reward, Elder Tianji. Both of them spoke in unison. This was simply an unexpected harvest. They didn't even bother to look at what the treasures in their hands were. Anything given by Tianji Zi would definitely not be an ordinary item. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to take it out. All right, Jiang Chen, follow me to Tianji Peak, Tianji Zi said with a smile. Today, he had accepted Jiang Chen as his disciple, and he was indescribably happy. Master, you should return first. I have promised to restore the iron dummy array. After that, I will personally go to Tianji Peak tomorrow, Jiang Chen said. Chapter 1175. Jiang Chen would certainly do what he had promised. As the symbol of the outer sect and inner sect, this iron dummy array was an indispensable existence. In the future, it could select a lot of geniuses for Tianyun Pavilion. He really shouldn't destroy it in his own hands. Oh, you can repair this iron dummy array? Tianji Zi was stunned. The way he looked at Jiang Chen changed. Such a young genius with incredible combat strength, heaven-defying means and mastery in the art of formation was really rare. That's right. I have done some research in the art of formation. I have already seen through this iron dummy array. Since it can be destroyed, I can naturally repair it, Jiang Chen said with a smile. His words were full of confidence. No one would doubt his words. All right, I'll wait for you at Tianji Peak. Tianji Zi nodded. Initially, he wanted to help restore the iron dummy array, but since Jiang Chen wanted to do it himself, it couldn't be any better. This would also allow him to witness the true capability of his disciple. More importantly, Jiang Chen was already his true disciple. Repairing the iron dummy array by himself and having Jiang Chen was 2 completely different things. As a mighty golden immortal expert and having a good understanding of the iron dummy array, there was nothing to show off about restoring it. However, if Jiang Chen, the one who destroyed it, repaired it, it would be a totally different story. It would bring glory to his master. Tianji Zi flew up and disappeared in a blink. After he left, the oppressive atmosphere was lifted. Many of them couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. The presence of a golden immortal expert was too stressful. Hee. Li Zhong and Yuan Kuei came to Jiang Chen with a smile. Although they were the great elders of inner sect and late divine immortal experts, Li Zhong didn't dare to look down on Jiang Chen at all. Who wouldn't want to show disrespect to a true disciple of Tianji Zi? Jiang Chen, your luck is just too good. Now, you've become Elder Destiny's true disciple. You don't even know how many people are envious of you. Allow me to congratulate you first, Li Zhong said. He and Yuan Kuei were very happy now, especially Yuan Kuei. As the great elder of the outer sect, Jiang Chen's performance today had made him feel very proud. Now, he had even received a treasure from Elder Tianji Zi. His mouth was almost crooked from smiling. I have to thank the 2 elders for giving me this opportunity. Jiang Chen cupped his fists. His gratitude was sincere. Originally, he was not qualified to challenge the iron dummy array. If it were not for these 2 elders making an exception for him, he would not have been able to successfully pass the iron dummy array and become the true disciple of Tianji Zi. Jiang Chen, if you can repair the iron dummy array, then repair it. If you can't, then it's okay, Li Zhong said. His attitude was completely different from before. Previously, Jiang Chen did not have any backing. If he destroyed the iron dummy array, he would probably be punished. But now, He was a true disciple and the only disciple of Tianjizi. Who would dare to punish him? It doesn't matter. Tomorrow, Jiang Chen will definitely repair the iron dummy array. Elder, you don't have to worry about this, Jiang Chen said. For him, repairing the iron dummy array was not a difficult task. All right. In that case, you can stay and repair the iron dummy array. We will take our leave. Now, you are not only a true disciple but also an inner sect disciple. Your status is completely different from before. If you encounter any difficulties in the inner sect, you can come to me directly. Li Zhong patted Jiang Chen's shoulder and then left with the elders of the inner sect. Yuan Kuei and Jiang Chen chatted for a while and then left directly. Another heaven-defying genius has appeared in Tianyun Pavilion. But the competition in the inner sect is too intense. There are constant frictions between true disciples. I think it will be difficult for Tianyun Pavilion to be peaceful in the future. All right. The battle between geniuses is not something we can participate in. It's a great thing for us that Jiang Chen has entered the inner sect. We don't have to worry about cultivation anymore. That's right. We've finally sent this god of plague away. I was afraid that he wouldn't be able to break through the iron dummy array. Let's go back. From now on, we won't have anything to do with Jiang Chen. Let him continue to wreak havoc in the inner sect. When those outer sect disciples saw this ending, they were envious and jealous. But at the same time, they heaved a deep sigh of relief. After sending away this plague, the outer sect could finally be peaceful. This guy looks very arrogant. If he thinks that he can be lawless after becoming a true disciple, then he is gravely mistaken. In Tianyun Pavilion, there are many powerful people. That's right. The competition in Tianyun Pavilion is fierce. Not only the competition between disciples, but also the relationship between many elders. Their own true disciples are also fighting with each other. Tianjizi also has countless enemies because of his personality. Jiang Chen's future days may not be easy. Come on. You guys are just saying that the grapes are sour. He is now a true disciple. Do you dare to provoke him? Many inner sect disciples were very envious of Jiang Chen's luck. The event of Jiang Chen breaking through the iron dummy array had come to an end. Most of the inner and outer sect disciples had left. This event was destined to set off a great uproar in Tianyun Pavilion. It would not take long for this news to spread to every corner of Tianyun Pavilion. Even those divine immortal core disciples and supreme golden immortal elders would know about Jiang Chen. They would know that another peerless genius had emerged in Tianyun Pavilion. There were a few people who did not leave. They walked towards Jiang Chen. The one who took the lead was Fu Hui. Brother Jiang, it seems that I have underestimated you. Today, you are in the limelight. It was really satisfying. Now that you have become a true disciple, congratulations. Fu Hui cupped his fists and congratulated Jiang Chen from the bottom of his heart. At the same time, Fu Hui sighed in his heart. Before he brought Jiang Chen to Tianyun Pavilion, he had never thought that Jiang Chen would do such an earth-shattering thing in such a short period of time. But this also made Fu Hui understand the fact that Jiang Chen's ability and potential were far more terrifying than he had imagined. Now that Jiang Chen had become a true disciple, his status was far higher than Fu Hui's. Initially, Fu Hui thought that he could rely on his relationship in Tianyun Pavilion to give Jiang Chen a backer. Now, it seemed that Jiang Chen would become his backer. It's all thanks to Brother Fu's recommendation, Jiang Chen said with a smile. It was Fu Hui's credit that he was able to enter Tianyun Pavilion smoothly and develop so much in such a short period of time. Brother Jiang, let me introduce to you. These are all inner sect disciples. They are our people. This is senior brother Meng Jia. He has already reached the late heaven immortal realm. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.